Okay, guys, so we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I'll be your friendly game master tonight, because tonight we are going to be playing, our ongoing Imperium Maledictum adventure, but we were down some players due to summer vacation and whatnot, so we are using that opportunity to kick off another Warhammer weekend with another of the Warhammer games we've been running on the channel, and that is the Warhammer Age of Sigmar RPG Soulbound. And Sean has had a chance to play this once before. Jeff has not played this before, so we're going to be using this to introduce everybody to Soulbound and talk about the gameplay, as well as actually try and try and have some fun with a new game as well. So it should be a fun session. But let me introduce you to the stars of tonight's session. I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here, and now tell us who you are and who you're playing tonight. First up, we've got Jeffrey.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeff, and I'm playing Cal, and I don't know a lot about him right now. He is a Harrier?
Yeah, you're actually a custom
elf.
So one of the neat things with the game is that there are archetypes that you can build your characters from, but there's also rules for building custom characters, and that's sort of what I did with yours. You're a slightly modified version of one of the archetypes. I wanted to find something that quite fit up with your character you play in our Night Below campaign, and that required a little bit of putting the thumb on the scale. And joining you is Sean.
Hey, I'm playing Warzium. He is a witch hunter.
And Warzium, for those who have not viewed our Witcher campaign, Warzium was the character that Sean played in our Witcher campaign. So again, my thumb was a little bit on the scale trying to figure out how to make a Witcher in this, and fortunately the Witch Hunter's got some close parallels to it. So we talked before we started the game a little bit about the game mechanics. Those will come up over the course of the session, but first thing I'm going to ask is how much are you guys familiar at all with the setting for Age of Sigmar?
Zero.
I'm not zero, but I'm a lot closer to zero than I am 100. I feel like I knew some. I mean, I started to scratch the surface like 2 years ago. No, it's probably last year. Actually, I think you and I played I want to say it was early last year as my guess. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, I'm pretty. Yeah, I think I have the chance, unlike Jeff, maybe that something comes back to me, once we start get going.
So I'm going to save too much explanation. I'll try and give just kind of the bare minimums you need to ground yourself. It's a fantasy game, but it is a mythic fantasy game. The canon kind of history of the Age of Sigmar is when the old world ended in the with the Age of Chaos, and the world was destroyed. There was still some little remnants that were left over, including some of the gods, the beings, and whatnot of the old world. And from those fragments were born the mortal realms. 8 different realms, technically 9, including Chaos, but 9 realms that were the mortal realms that corresponded broadly to the winds of magic that were in the old world. Each of those realms, instead of being, all solidly whatever their key thing is, actually is the realm of fire, but not everything is a burning furnace. The further you get away from the heart of any of the realms, the closer you get to a version of the realms that the mortal realms, like the old world, but heavily influenced by whatever the mortal realms that it's or the realms that it is close to. So actually is very parched and hot and has creatures that are transformed by fire or imbued with fire. Shaman, the realm of metal, has trees with iron bark, and they have creatures and insects that are made out of metal or that have strange metal characteristics to them. Adjoining each of these realms as well are things called realm gates. There are other ways of traveling between the mortal realms. The realm gates are really the most important and accessible way, and those are easy ways of getting from one to the other. I wonder if my bloody Windows update is trying to run again. I'm chugging a little bit right now, and I have a suspicion it's just fucking Windows update again.
No.
Friday night, so of course it's gonna...
Oh, yeah.
God dang. You remember it did it like either last week or 2 weeks ago? Jeepers. Yeah. In any event, I seem to be okay now. From the Age of Myth, which was after the Mortal Realms were formed, Sigmar and a bunch of other gods kind of rebuilt civilization. They rebuilt worlds, and there was thousands of years of history. And empires rose and fell, and new civilizations, versions of the mythic races or the magical races and the mortal races from the old world, like humans and elves and dwarves, now called Dwarden, and elves are now called elves. They exist in this world, as do orcs and undead and things like that. The Age of Myth came to an end with the Age of Chaos, when Chaos returned to the world and swept over almost the entire mortal realms. The only place that really served as a definite stronghold is the bright realm of, or the heavenly realm of Azir, where Sigmar, the God King, had hidden himself. We are now, when Chaos having retreated to a degree, and Sigmar and his armies taking up arms to take back the mortal realms, we're in the Age of Sigmar. And one of the ways where this game differs from the other Warhammer games in particular is a feeling of hope. There's still a lot of the very bad things, like the forces of destruction, like orcs and other greenskins and giants, and there's forces of death, like ghouls and vampires and spirits, and there are forces of chaos that seek to either corrupt or destroy or remake in their own image the mortal realms. But the forces of order, they are on the ascent in the mortal realms, so it is a time of heroes. The scale of power that your characters will have is significantly higher than what you would necessarily expect from a starting character in another fantasy RPG. You guys, the game suggests, for instance, that each starting character should be able to handle, say, 10 minions plus a regular, warrior scale of enemy. You guys are much more capable, much more powerful than what you might expect for starting characters. And one of the signature ways that I guess one of the things that lends the game its name of Soulbound is that you lot have been bound together by some god or powerful entity into a soul-connecting pact. You do not have any of them among you, but the only exception to the soulbound parties who aren't actually bound by souls are the Stormcast Eternals. Stormcast Eternals are kind of pejoratively called, when the game first came out, Sigmarines, because they look an awful lot like the miniatures, look an awful lot like the Space Marines, only they're fantasy. But they're actually, I think they're a really interesting character or character type, because the Stormcast Eternals are reforged souls of mortals who have been transformed into like 7-foot tall demigods. And when they die, their souls will most often go back to the forge of reincarnation and then be bound out again into another soul forge eternal, or a Stormcast Eternal. Stormcast Eternals, because their souls are claimed by Sigmar, they do not get to contribute towards the soulbound number. That's why you guys have 2 points of soul fire and everyone else does. And if you had a Stormcast Eternal among your number, you would not have, they would not contribute to your soul fire. We're going to generate what the history is of that, and we're going to generate some history between your characters using some random tables out of the core book and out of the Champions of Order book. But I want to tell you about the land or the setting that we'll be starting off our adventure in, and that is in the city of Brightspear. This is the setting out of the starter set. I mentioned in the description of this video that we'll be using the material from the starter set, and that's what we're using. Like the starter set for Warhammer Fantasy 4th. Sean, the starter set for this has a really great bunch of setting material for the thing that's not duplicated anywhere else and is usable in any other campaign too. So I really like it.
Spear.
Bright Spear is located in a region of the realm of Akshi known as the Great Parch. Those of you who might be familiar with Planescape 2 can think of this kind of like it's Planescape with muscles. It's a much more earthy and violent, I think, version than what Planescape is. Here is the city of Bright Spear. Bright Spear has the distinction of being one of the few cities that does not currently have a realm gate. Although there are some interesting characteristics about Bright Spear that might make you think that there may be more to learn. Out of interest here, there is a place called Anvilgard up here. That is the setting for the first adventure that was written for the game called The Shadows in the Mist. And there is another one that's not depicted on here. That is the setting for Blackened Earth, the second major adventure that was written for it. But this is also only part of the Great Parch. But Bright Spear is where our adventure will be starting and where we'll be finding our soulbound heroes to start. Let me just tell you a little bit about Bright Spear. I don't have blocks around this text, but you can assume that it is very much the same. Bright Spear is the new name for a city that has stood for centuries. Founded by the ancient Agloraxian Empire in the region now called Asperia. The city is built atop a sprawling underground complex, an Agloraxian citadel city created to shelter the ancient peoples and withstand cataclysmic events. Or so that is what the Agloraxians claimed. The citadels were also created as shelters, true, but they were also a sanctuary where mages of the Agloraxian Empire could conduct their strange experiments in secret. There are rumors of dozens more of these citadels in Asperia, and that each is connected, but as yet no one has been able to find them. When the Age of Chaos struck, the ruinous powers unleashed their hordes of demons and abominations upon the mortal realms. Neither the Agloraxians nor their citadel were prepared for the assault. A rift in reality tore open off the coast, one that led to the realm of chaos and the domain of Tzeentch, the Changer of Ways. Hordes of screaming demons and abominations flooded through and assaulted the city. The city fell, and its people were slaughtered or turned to serve the Changer of Ways. The Agloraxian Empire was a magocracy consisting of a proud and terrible people that condemned those without magical skill to slavery. The Bright Spear today is split into 3 different districts: the Upper City, the Lower City, and the New City. And I believe you can see a fair bit of that in the illustration we're looking at. And I have a pretty cool side profile here as well. Where the heck is it? Am I lying? I might be lying, guys. Hold up. Yeah, I might be lying about this. I thought that... Hold up.
Thought you had a map of... what'd you think?
Well, I had a side profile of the... Oh, you know what? I know where it is. It's because... Boom. It is next to the map, I believe. There it is. So you see that spire on the side there?
The upper tier part?
Yeah, that gives you an idea of the layout of Bright Spear. And the under part there that you can see where it's kind of shaded, that all looks like this. You can imagine that there is whole chunks of the city where there are they never see the bright skies of Akshi on account of the lower tier that is there. And here is an idea of what the streets of Bright Spear look like.
That would be the upper tier.
That would be actually likely the new city.
Oh, okay.
And I do.
So it's outside the core sphere.
Yeah, where the lower tier sits above, or there's a lower tier that sits above the
upper.
Yeah, and then there is the upper sphere. I've got a couple other neat illustrations. What I'll do is I'll bring you back to
anything that expands beyond that central platter is the new city.
Is generally the new city, correct? I got some other illustrations I loaded here. Let's see. Yes. Here we go. So this is, guys, the new city. Unsurprisingly, lots of representation of Sigmar and his angels, the Stormcast Eternals, who cast out the Tzeentchian Horde. Here's an idea of what the upper tier looks like. In the upper tier, there is a place called the Hanging Gardens as well. I'll give you an idea for that. And I think I've got... Where's the view here? Where did I put it? I put it right... Gardens, new city, lower tier regions. Oh, I think I forgot to load it. You have to use your imagination to picture the view of the city when seen from the upper spire. The other things to know about this, let's see. Bright Spear is split into 3 different districts, Upper City, Lower City, and the New City. The Upper City sits on a large plate built around the central spear of the city and slowly rotates to match the movement of Hish and Ulgu across the sky. The Lower City is directly beneath the plate that holds the Upper City. It's almost constantly in shadow, and you can always hear the faint clicking and grinding of the rotating plate above. The new city is the ever-expanding edges of Bright Spear. Maybe I'll bring you over to the map. Here, the ancient ruined buildings are demolished, and the city expands as all cities of Sigmar do, growing outward in ever-increasing concentric circles. The last unofficial district of Bright Spear is the Undercity. The ancient Aglaraxian citadel holds many secrets, and scholars and mages hungry for knowledge are desperate to explore its secrets. For now, the Lord Arcanum, Salonia Gravewing, who temporarily governs Bright Spear, strictly controls access to the Undercity, but with growing rumors of strange lights and unexplained arcane phenomena, it may not be long before someone is sent to investigate, or something escapes from its depths. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to show you those images and give you a sense of the kind of history in motion aspect of Bright Spear is because one of the things that I had the hardest time coming to grips with the setting is, what does the everyday world look like? Right? Like, if I walk around a Sigmarite city, like what am I experiencing? What am I seeing? And if you are picturing any other city in any other fantasy setting, albeit with a little bit higher of a tech level and a little bit more easily access to magic, you're going to be correct. Brightspear is filled with people who are just trying to live their lives. Some of these are people who lived in the Parch and came here when Brightspear was taken by order. Some are refugees from other cities that had been affected by the wars of Sigmar. Some of them are immigrants coming from one of the other mortal realms to try and seek their fortunes here. And some are long-term inhabitants who suffered under the yoke of chaos and are trying to live a proper life now. There are also factions among the different groups in the mortal realms. While there are many of the groups allied to one another, it does not necessarily mean that they share the same interests on all things, and that's where conflict can come in. Your characters, we'll talk about where they grew up and whatnot, but what we know is that, Cal, at some point you have become a very capable warrior, and you did something to join this soulbound thing, and we'll figure out what that is over the course of our next stage of our conversation. In Warzium, we know that you are connected to Sigmar. You are blessed of Sigmar, so you're able to invoke miracles in his name, and we know that you are a devout foe of witches, in particular any agents of chaos or spellcasters. You are able to make use of your banishing weapons in order to fight that stuff, and there's some other things, like for pursuing a spellcaster, it's either one or both of spellcasters and agents of chaos. You get to double your training dice when you're trying to pursue them for any mind-related test. So you are a dogged harrier of the supernatural, whether you're from this realm or from some other realm or whatnot. Absolutely up to you. But one thing to remember is that the people of this, the little people, are just like any other human beings you would meet in any other RPG setting. They have the same, fallibility. They have the same small interests. They get angry at their neighbors. They have crushes on the people they went to school with. They, want to raise families. They want to build businesses. They mourn the loss of the dead, and they have hopes for the future. It is a type of campaign and a setting that is extremely epic and mythic in scope, but the people is the thing that, and the interest of the characters themselves and the people that you are trying to save as a soulbound group, that's the real, heart of the setting, is the everyday folks who are affected by these terrible turns of fortune. So, any questions you guys have at this stage before we start talking about background?
Is the setting generally opposed to witches, or am I unusual?
So it is not. It's a good question, because there's, as a contrast, in Blackbirds, for instance, there's an order called the Sigilites, and Sigilites hate anybody who uses magic. That is not the case with you. You happen to be skilled with facing, your weapons at least are particularly effective with anybody who is and I say spellcaster as opposed to a worker of miracles. A spellcaster, your weapons get that bonus that they get from it against anyone who's a spellcaster. However, not everyone who's a spellcaster is evil. There are elves who live in Akshi who are skilled wizards, and in fact, one of your contacts, I will tell you, is the Knight Incantor Vontus Tavaria, and let me show you what Vontus looks like. Where is she? Knight Incantor. Where the heck are you? Where's he? I was in such a rush to toss all these in here. I think I neglected to load one or two. Give me a sec here. I'll double check that I don't have. Oh yeah, I think I shut things down before I finished loading everything. Well done, Madison. Well done. What I'm going to show you is a illustration of one of the Stormcast Eternals, who is a wizard. Gotcha. So the Knight Incantors, though they are a spellcaster, they're not, Yeah.
So witches are generally a pejorative in the setting?
Witches are more things... A witch would be someone who would be untrained. Someone like one thing that folks are not, some might
Rogue
be
psychers.
ill-informed, but they're not, like, there are two schools, there's at least two schools of magic in Brightspear right now, and there is room for 6 more to be set up. I think it's the Brotherhood Arcane, is one of the... Well, it's not called that, I don't think. Where is it here? One of the influential factions is the Collegiate Arcane. And they are allies of the forces of Sigmar.
Okay.
So a witch would be someone who would be allied to destruction, death, or to chaos.
Yeah.
This is... the Knight Incanter. Let me put her back.
She's my, maybe not friend, but ally?
You could say friend. Like, one of the neat things about the Stormcast Eternals is while they do sort of fill that kind of, at least in the tabletop game, they sort of fill that role of, like, Space Marines. These, and not to... I don't want to open the door for arguments about how, individual Space Marines can be. One of the things with the Stormcast Eternals is they're still people. Like, they have their own interests. They have hobbies. They have to eat and drink. They have favored foods. They have, pastimes they like to enjoy themselves with. So even though they are these reforged demigods, they still are very much individual people. And that is one thing with Wurzium that you may have. Like, it may be that you are the sort of archetypical one-dimensional, like, I'm a, witch and I'm going to fight, or witch hunter, I'm going to fight everything and blah, blah, blah. But to be honest, there's more interesting takes on that. And you may have a more personal relationship with the Knight Incanter than just simply being like, we both fight, Sigmar. You may enjoy a pint at one of the Dwarden pubs, you may enjoy attending musical performances or whatever the, heck your interest is. Does that answer your question about the witch hunting?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Of course.
Can you explain the Soulbound part to me a little bit? I'm not really clear on it. Like, is it a group? You said it's a group we're a part of?
No, a soul bind. So a binding is something that happens among a specific group. You're not like joining an order or whatnot. One of the ways that the conceits of the RPG is that the party members have been bound together by some greater being for some purpose.
Oh, okay. It's us that are soulbound. The group of us. At this point, me and Sean.
Correct.
Our characters. Okay.
Correct. And I mentioned that the Stormcast Eternals cannot be soulbound. The reason is there's two reasons. One of them is mechanical. One of them is in story. In story is because their souls belong to someone else. Sigmar has claimed them and reworked them. The practical or the mechanical reason is because they're pretty fucking powerful and they can reincarnate. So having one in your party is really cool. The downside is they don't contribute and they can't make use of Soulfire.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Nada?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, then let's start with why were you guys chosen? So, first, why don't you each give us a D6 roll? Let's see who you are bound to, or who forged your binding, at least. A 20, so it's a 7 total. It may not surprise you to learn that your binding was forged by Sigmar. As the one who commanded that the binding ritual be crafted, the God King uses it most frequently. Though he is not the most skilled craftsman, he executes the ritual with a well-practiced hand and an unfaltering resolve. Unfortunately, Sigmar is unlikely to adjust the ritual to suit the participants, trusting in the certainty of the established spell work. As a result, the chance of one or more fatalities during the binding is greater than with other gods, as any mortal unable to endure the rigors of the binding will warrant no pause or exception from the God King's will. Mm-hmm. And let's see here. To what end? Why don't you each give us a d6 roll again? Why did the binding take place? Okay, that's a 20 or 2. And a 5 again. Okay, 2. So you were originally bound to sever a chain of smugglers who trade in stolen realm stone. Realm stone is, there's the 8 different mortal realms that are made up of a specific type of kind of magic. There is stone and other elements and whatnot that come from those regions that share their characteristics. So like the, is it Hish? Is the Realm of Death? I don't think that's right, but let's double check here. Mortal Realms, here we go. Hish is the Realm of Light. Shyish is the Realm of Death. So if there is, say, Realm Stone from Shyish, it will have characteristics like death. It might make, might be lethal to, to living things, or it might assist in necromantic bindings, or it might be useful in keeping necrotic or undead things away. Or it might make effective armor, bolstering the abilities of such creatures. Who knows what the Realm Stone is, but that was the original reason why you were bound, to sever a chain of smugglers who trade in stolen Realm Stone. Now we learn why each of you was chosen. So would you each give us a 2d6 roll, please? Okay, Wurzium. Wurzium, you were chosen because your birth was prophesied by a powerful seer. So you were a very special boy. For Cal...
I have rolled all 5 so far, just for the record.
Cal, you were the last surviving member of an elite unit sent on an impossible task.
Makes sense with his war history.
Yeah. So what do you think, I guess, before we go on, so Wurzium, is that something that's been on your shoulders since childhood then, or was it something that was kept from you for a time before they revealed what your destiny was?
I mean, maybe going with the Sigmar theme of don't be a pansy. They probably, they probably didn't worry about it. Like they, of course, much was expected. Much was given. Much is expected.
Yeah. Okay. So it does not seem like Wurzium had a great deal of choice in becoming a witch hunter, perhaps.
No. Dad was firm.
Okay. And Cal, the surviving elite unit that you were sent on with an impossible task, was it other elves that you were with, or was it a mixed unit?
I think probably at that point it was other elves that he was with.
Okay. And do you have a sense of who the impossible task was against, at least who your adversary was? Was it agents of destruction like orcs and greenskins? Was it agents of death? Or was it agents of chaos? Or perhaps something independent of that?
Sorry, what did you say the first ones were agents of?
Destruction were the orcs and
the
greenskins.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay. So they died in a horde of greenskin.
Yeah.
All right. Next up will be, what did you gain? Would you each give us a 2d6 roll once again? Where is he? Ooh.
Oh no, my notepad didn't something.
So Werzium, you gained the chance to get closer to the forces of chaos than ever before.
I have, or I'm about to.
So becoming part of a binding grants various boons to the mortal participants, but almost every person bound through a binding ritual did so with something gained. This could be something as simple as strength and freedom, or as complex as a chance to get revenge on a specific chaos demon. So yours was at 4 and 5. You gained the chance to get closer to the forces of chaos than you ever have before.
Okay.
Chaos are, of course, the enemy of the Witch Hunter primarily. Mm-hmm. And Cal, 4 and 6. You gained the powerful certainty that one person can make a difference. Do you want me to repeat that?
Interesting.
Or either of them?
Powerful certainty that one person can make a difference.
Correct. And you gained the chance to get closer to the forces of chaos than any ever have before.
Oh, interesting. That kind of fits with his witch hunting.
Mm-hmm.
He can move right into the forces of chaos.
Now let's see what you lost. Would you each give us a 2d6 roll, please?
I mean, I know one of the things I lost. My band of friends.
Yeah. Well, that was why you were picked. You were the sole survivor. And then you were
this
picked.
is like something you lost when you became soulbound.
Yeah. This is something you lost in the course of the binding.
Ah, I see. Not beforehand.
Okay, here's what you lost. The rest of your impossibly long life will be fraught with war and danger.
Wait, that's me?
That's you. Because I got your roll first.
You know, you lost almost your whole band, and now that.
It makes me wonder if that's the case, if that's what you're giving up, perhaps this impossible task, you did achieve it and thought, like, okay, my time for fighting is done. I have given up everything that could reasonably be asked of me for this. And now you're gaining a certainty that one person can make a difference, but you will, the rest of your long life will be fraught with war and danger. Werzium, 6 and 3. Oh, the ritual permanently changed or ruined your most beloved physical quality. So the ritual permanently changed or ruined your most beloved physical quality. What was that? Your lustrous hair? Were you young before this happened?
Yeah, I was thinking that. Maybe. Maybe I've always been youthful before. Like everyone guessed I was 15 years younger. And that is no longer the case. So that's when I let that mustache just go. There was nothing left to hold back for, so I let that thing grow. A little bitterness there. It's a bitter mustache right there.
I like it.
The way that you gain experience in the game is through achieving short-term goals and long-term goals, and those can be both party-based and individual-based. The short-term goals that you gain, it's not XP you gain from, maybe it's both, but you for sure get Soulfire back as well with a short-term goal for the party, and long-term goals short-term goals are the kind of thing you can do in like a session. Long-term goals are like at the end of this adventure mini campaign, we'll achieve what we're looking for. So, for both of you guys, let's do this. Cal, each of you give us a D6 roll, please. Just different tables I'll be looking at for you. Okay, so 6 for Werzium. Werzium, your short-term goal for now, or for this session, do something to keep the local free peoples safe. For instance, help build a fortification or train the local free guild. So that is your short-term goal for the session, or for your short-term goal at least. For Cal.
Is there a spot on the sheet for the goals?
On your, I think the furthest over tab. Let's see here. There is definitely on the party sheet, the Soulbound sheet, but those are short-term goals for the party.
Yeah.
Oh, it's down below, all the way. Scroll all the way down.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Goals. Yeah. Perfect. I just wanted it like in the game, man.
Sure. And the short-term goal for you, you desire to gain further practical knowledge in the field relating to a personal philosophical treatise to which you subscribe. You need this to prove your innate superiority to a rival. So you desire to gain further practical knowledge in the field relating to a personal philosophical treatise to which you subscribe. You need this to prove your innate superiority to a rival. So I think the things that draw away from that, there's something that needs to be practically tested in the field that a rival disagrees on.
Right.
So maybe just give some thought to that. And then would you guys each give us a D6 roll again for long-term goals? All right. So did they both a 3 and a 4? Are those the new ones?
The 4 is definitely fresh for me.
Okay,
this is my new one now. Okay.
So Werzium's came out first.
Jeff only rolls 5s for the most part. So.
Pretty much.
Werzium, you seek to settle a new town on a nexus of geomantic power, as was done by the Dauntless Heroes during the Dawnbringer Crusades. You want to read that again?
Town? Yeah, one more time.
You seek to settle a new town on a nexus of geomantic power, as was done by the Dauntless Heroes during the Dawnbringer Crusades.
Geomantic, no less.
Geomantic, yeah.
Mantic.
You've been asking for directions for so long about geometric, and no prick has corrected you yet. So.
It's like the telephone game. The what? Exactly. What'd you say? Huh?
And then for Cal, okay, that one is a little too tied to the specific. Well, let's see what the Mortal Realms one is. Ooh. Cal, the wounds of ancient days are not easily healed. You intend to plant the barrier of the free peoples upon land lost in the age of chaos and take it back. You want to read that again?
Yeah.
The wounds of ancient days are not easily healed. You intend to plant the barrier of the free peoples upon land lost in the age of chaos and take it back. One of the neat things, one of the other neat things about the game is they have a really good downtime system. And one of the neat things you can do in the downtime is you can clear corruption. It's not just a matter of you're like fighting enemies and putting them down and whatnot. The downtime actions you take can help shape the actual campaign and the setting, which I think is a really, really cool part of the feeling of the entire setting starts in motion as soon as you start playing and you start having significant effect on it. So that completes our backstory stuff. Do you guys have anything to share about your characters, about any of the things that we've talked about yet, to give context to who you are and what your perspective on the world and your tasks before you will be?
I don't know if I have something to share, but can you expand a little bit on the smugglers that we were formed to stop? They were smuggling magical stone.
They were smuggling realm stone, which means it comes from one of the other realms. You know what? Why don't we set... So one of the things... I'm going to advance the storyline because we actually... To the same point in the timeline that the other group was playing in. The So for those listening at home, if you're intending on playing the adventure in the starter set, skip forward about 10 minutes because I'm probably going to talk about and spoiling what happens in that adventure. So forewarning now. There we go. What happens at the end of the first adventure in the starter set is you find that one of the reasons you have these different spheres hanging above the city that rotate around is because it's not a matter that there's no realm gate here. It's that there's a realm gate that can access anywhere. It is an extraordinarily unique magical creation of the Agloraxian Empire, and outstandingly valuable for those who wish to be able to go to other realms. So, with that in mind, knowing you can go anywhere with this, that might be the thing that you were forged to get, like the binding occurred, so you guys could track down some smugglers coming through Brightspear.
Right.
Which of the... So the different... Let me tell you what the realms are, and you guys can tell me what sort of realm stone that might be smuggled. And I will say, I've got a fucking cool supplement called...
So it's basically stone from this other realm that would carry some of the power of that realm with it.
And it can be crafted. This is the Artifacts of Power supplement. It can be crafted into a wide variety of different magical items or techno-magical items.
Right.
So the realms are... You're in, actually, right now, the realm of fire. And the other 7 realms are Azir, the realm of heaven. Shaman, the realm of metal. Gur, the realm of beasts. Geron, the realm of life. That's where Aqua Geranus comes from. Hish, the realm of light. Shyish, the realm of death. Ulgu, the realm of shadow. And there's, of course, chaos. Chaos, the realm there has been shut down. You cannot access the realm of chaos from the city of Brightspear. But all the others can be. Did any one of those kind of spark your interest of what the smugglers may have been allied with? Assuming that they're not just trying to get some money out of it, it may be that they're smugglers, but they're not just strictly, people doing it to make a little bit of cash. They may be allied with something that would benefit from that specific substance.
Shadow?
Shadow would be pretty cool.
Yeah, the shadow kind of makes sense also as like a realm of smuggling, right?
Yeah. There are also, one of the neat things is each of the humans and elves and Dwarden who come from those different realms, they are very different as well. An elf that comes from Shyish is going to be very different than one that grew up in the Great Parch, or one that's from Azir, or one that's from Gur, right? Like there's the realms themselves have an impact on the peoples that live there. And there are... one of the elven gods has taken refuge in Shyish. And there are elves, just like, dark elves in, in Warhammer Fantasy and the Dark Eldar in 40K. There are elves allied with Shadow that are part of... So it could be a Shadow Elf, consortium, or just Shadow Sorcerers, or who the fuck knows. Whatever you think is coolest.
Right.
So that's the thing that you put together. How do you think the two of you do you think you've completed that task, or is that something that you are still undergoing?
The smugglers situation?
Yeah, the Shyish smugglers. Is that still an ongoing threat? I'm assuming you've dealt with... you've got 1 or 2 adventures at least under your belt, so you guys probably have done some things so far. But is that completely finished now, and you guys are looking for your next purpose, given your binding, or...
I feel like that's like the kind of task that it's like you're never sure if it's finished, right? They're agents of shadow, and so it's like, did you get the whole organization? Maybe there's,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Sean?
That's fine. Yeah, that works.
Yeah. So one of the things I like about the campaign structure in the game too is hold on here. Where is it? It is in here. One of the ways that the game is the unfolding of the story in it is characters become aware of threats through. And I close it down. No, here it is. Faithful. Okay. Through first rumors, which are just rumors you'll encounter as you're doing your downtime or whatever. Those are threats that might be coming. Next are fears, which are imminent. They may be challenges that will imminently be threatening the forces of order and the free peoples. And then there are threats, which are here, and you have to deal with them. And one of the things you can do during your downtime is start taking, or over the course of the campaign play, you'll start hearing about rumors. Then those rumors may become fears, and those fears will become threats. And as you choose what to address and what to respond to, that's what gives shape to the overall campaign. Doom rises and falls. If you become aware of something as a rumor and decide to investigate it and cut it off before it becomes fully manifest, then you have helped, and the overall doom may go down. But if there's rumors you didn't follow up on that become fears, and then you're still not able to get to deal with them, they then become threats you have to deal with.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So they escalate, basically.
Precisely, yeah. And it doesn't necessarily mean that everything is set on a timeline, but it's a neat way of the game not only giving a sense of of story building, of layered building of the different adventures you're going to go on. It also gives some focus to the player's choices for what you want to do, because you're clearly hearing about stuff and making a decision of like, okay, we really should, whatever's going on with this thing we've just heard about, maybe we should look more into that, and this other thing, maybe we don't need to really deal with that right now, but by doing that, that might mean that a fear is coming in. So it I don't know. I have not run this as an ongoing campaign, but I feel like that would be one of those really cool things that would give a sense of structure to the different adventures, but also give a sense of purpose as you're making decisions for what to pursue. So with that in mind, it was a long way of saying, what do you think of the stage of the smugglers are at right now? Are they back to a matter of rumor right now? Are they a fear that is... You've been maybe taking some steps to shut them down, but they have not gone yet. I honestly am not fussed one way or the other. Like it's if this is a story in your past and you think you defeated them for now, but it's as you say, Jeff, that you never really know. That's some great backstory that we can play with.
Right. Yeah, I like the idea that it's fallen back to rumor at this point. You know? There's been rumors that it's not completely wiped out.
The master of the Shayishian smugglers, did you ever learn who they were?
Maybe we thought we knew who they were, but then the rumor is that that's not the guy. You thought that was the guy? Like, that
yeah. That there is in fact a greater power behind whatever it is that you were
more
facing.
Levels.
Okay.
Yeah. Come on, you couldn't seriously think that was
it's the kind of cut screen you get to in a video game where you're like, oh, fucking come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you thought you were done, and they laugh at you.
I've given you 60 hours of my time. Give me fucking closure. God damn it.
Right.
All right, so then, okay, that sounds great. So then there's these, you have had success against these Shayishian smugglers, but there is this, like, we know there's someone else out there. What the fuck are they doing now, and how does it threaten Brightspear? Love it. So, next thing we're going to do is talk about your connections to one another. Because neither of you are playing a Stormcast Eternal, we do not need to roll it, but I will tell you, when you play a Stormcast Eternal, one of the things you roll is to see how many times you've been reforged. So how many deaths have you had before you got to this? All right, so then why don't you each give us another 2d6 roll, and we'll talk about your connections to one another. All right, so Werzium is up first. And Cal. Okay. So Werzium, your connection to Cal. You hired Cal to help you with a job. I assume that is before the binding. What do you think that job was? Then you guys can feel free to, this is primarily Werzium's connection to Cal, or at least what he values or perceives as the most important thing. I'm telling you, man. And, but feel free to play it, give suggestions for what you might think too, Jeff.
The binding, so we would have been the binding. We expected the binding. Was
yes.
That a scheduled?
It's
a scheduled.
Yeah. Yeah. You would consent. You would have been selected. I'm assuming it happened before the binding.
Gotcha. And we knew the binding was coming.
Yeah. I don't think you knew it was coming beforehand. Like, you were selected for the binding at some point, but at some point prior to that, you hired Cal for something.
Well, maybe it makes sense that when you, when anytime you get a new job, you look into your past for those you trusted. Then, you look for folks that you've already established.
No, I don't doubt that's how you got selected. But what I'm interested in is what that job was. So, Cal, maybe let's talk about what position you would have been in before being selected for the binding. Like, one thing I can think of is because Cal achieved seemingly an impossible task, and we haven't said whether you did achieve it or not, but he was selected and his whole elven unit was wiped out for this impossible task. What position do you think that Werzium would find him in? And I'm wondering if maybe Werzium, it's for that. Maybe you had something that involved a green skin, like a Orug witch or something like that, or a warlock band that was preying on a community. And maybe his specialty or expertise in the greenskins may have been a reason you sought him out. Showing up at Clint Eastwood's farm, as it were, in Unforgiven.
Unforgiven.
I don't want to put my thumb too hard on the scale here, but just to give you an example of what that might be. Cal, if Werzium had come to him to hire him for something prior to the binding, before he gave up whatever, non-life of war and whatnot that he had, where would he find him?
I think that I like very traditional, like, RPG stuff, I think it was like,
well, he has to have a reason for hiring you, right? Like, this isn't a matter of, like, he just hired. The reason this is important to him is because it clearly has some significance. So we're trying to figure out what that significance was.
Right, I know, I understand that. But I'm saying, like, I think maybe that was, like, a place where, I'd maybe stayed too long, and, like, because now all my friends are gone, so, you're kind of like, it's easy to sort of end up in this rut. But I'd told this story many times at the bar about, like, the history. Every new traveler that comes in, it's like, oh, don't go sit with that guy. He's gonna.
Yeah.
And then I'd buy them a drink and start telling them. Maybe I even owned the bar.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, don't start a conversation with the owner. Oh, he's gonna tell that story, and it's just like, you suck them in. You're buying them jugs of beer just so you can tell them your story. But it's like, it became sort of a little legend. So
okay. So what do you think it was that led him to hire him, Werzium?
It could be with that. It could be that. It sounds like Cal is underemployed in essence. Like he's one that had a lot of promise and it was going fine, but then just something hellacious happened. Like you lost everyone, and coming back from that is it can go different ways. I mean, either some may roar back and some don't come back at all, and maybe Cal is sort of a that Werzium recognizes him as could be a diamond in the rough is what I'm looking for. That like he's there, he needs cleaning up, he needs refocusing, and he could be something, he's something more than he currently, Cal is more than Cal currently values. Mm-hmm. And Werzium's going to go, Werzium's the guy that showed up maybe in the doorway and said, get your shit together, man. We have things to do. And, and maybe at first you look at me like, who in the hell are you? But, it works out. Like somehow I come with the message and a purpose, and maybe that.
So what did you hire him for then?
I mean, I feel like we go, maybe that was the very beginning of the smuggler rumor, the original rumor.
Well, that was the binding. This happened before the binding. Remember,
This is
the
how we
reason
knew
for the
each other
binding
sort
was
of
for the smuggler
before
thing.
Okay, so the smuggler is, I see, intrinsically connected to the binding. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Could it be? Go ahead, you go.
I was gonna say it could be kind of like Kev said, like some of his knowledge of battling the orcs or whatever. Maybe there was a witch case or a powerful witch you were after that was being protected by orcs, and so you sought me out for my experience fighting them.
Yeah, and there could be some kind of connection. It doesn't have to be a direct connection to what happened to you. Like I was aware of it for some reason, or I was in the periphery, or I was in the region. I'm not sure what yet, but you were, you had a big thing going on. I mean, you lost almost everyone. That was huge.
He lost everyone. Full stop.
Yeah.
Except for you. That's all.
Right.
That's all I think I was going to that. And so I somehow knew about that. And I'm not sure why I knew about that, but maybe it's that. Like it's that. I was somehow in the periphery of that. Like I was.
I don't think that. We don't need to have that close of a connection, because the connection comes once you guys start adventuring together. Elves are very long-lived as well. You're human. You're not. It could be that this story, like people keep talking about the story, this idiot talks about that happened a century before, and that may have been the connection that brought you in. Because and the reason I want to emphasize that is because it's more interesting for you guys to have come together and something interesting to have happened with just the two of you than it being a continuation of something that happened in Cal's past, and something that, because you're a witch hunter, you're not a frontline combatant. You're more of you're like an inquisitor in 40K or in the Warhammer world. Yeah,
I was just trying to figure out how I'd heard a Cal, and so that's why I was.
Well, maybe you've been to my bar. Maybe you've just been to my bar. If you're traveling around,
okay,
it doesn't have right. Yeah, I don't know that there's.
Yeah, and that's why I was trying to situate it on something that he would have experience on. There would be a reason for you to try and drag him out more than just you should pull yourself together. I
mean, that's why I was going to the original, disaster. That I'd heard of it somehow, that I knew about it, and it, it spoke greatly. It spoke, significantly of Cal. With that kind of gravity, with that kind of gravitas, is what drew me.
But we don't know if he was. We know he was the only survivor. We don't, and he probably tells the story, or may tell the story as him as the hero. But we don't necessarily know that he succeeded in that impossible task. We don't know that he was the hero of it. We know that
it just could be resilience, though. I mean, it just could be that this was someone who's been there. I want someone that can hang through the hardest. And he's been through the hardest.
One, given the fact that Cal had put it behind him seemingly before the binding, makes me think that he's not the kind of person who's just waiting for someone to say, come on, let's go. It may be the call to act, adventure, as it were, may be you're the only one who fucking knows this stuff, man. I need you to come and help me. And that might be the impetus for Cal to get out and for you to get out, and then you guys go on your adventure. And to build on what you had suggested too, Sean, perhaps that's when you first learned in the course of doing that about the smugglers. Maybe there was some connection to what you were investigating that then led to this strange Shayian connection, which led back to Brightspear and to you guys eventually being bound together. How does that work?
It's fine. I mean, yeah, I think. So let's see. So Cal has some somewhat irreplaceable amount of knowledge I need.
Well, perhaps it's something to do with whatever the impossible task was. So if it was a century before or whatever, Cal, how long do you think you've been just the bartending elf? Do you think it's a matter of years, or a couple of years, or recently afterwards, or was it a long time that you were the...
Yeah, if we're modeling it sort of similarly to, Cal from our other game, then I think it would be quite a long time ago, at least 50 years, at least a human lifetime ago.
Yeah. So then, if we think of it, perhaps whatever place you went, even if whatever the impossible task was, I guess first, do you think that you succeeded ultimately in that task, or did you fail in that task? Or was it a mixed bag?
Let's see. Probably it was, I mean, it was some level of success, but I guess it's always a mixed bag if no one else makes it, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe like whatever it was, you know.
What if it forced them to retreat? Like you decimated the forces. It was a Pyrrhic victory. You decimated the forces. You were barely successful, but they couldn't, you know, you were the only survivor, but they could not maintain whatever position it was, and they retreated.
Right. Right.
So you go on to your life, and then in the intervening time, whatever that place was, perhaps, like, think of it like a Dol Guldur kind of situation, right? Like a place that had a dark history to it, but then something starts stirring there again, and there's rumors of witchcraft or whatever the fuck that's going on in there, which is what brings you into the picture, Warzium. And, you know, over the course of your travels in this region, you're hearing about this bartender who keeps yapping about that place, about the battle of whatever. And someone was alive during that time, and perhaps his knowledge of that location, of our quasi-Dol Guldur, is the reason you seek him out. And then in the course of knowing him and getting to know him, and that, like, look, you can't talk me through this stuff. You need to come with me to show me through this stuff. And that's the course of the adventure where perhaps you see what others don't, which is that he's more than just a, you know, permanently soused bar owner who just wants to talk about his glory days. Because that gives you guys a bit more of a it gives you an opportunity to get to know one another in an unexpected way, and then at the end of that, perhaps you find that there is this connection to the Shaishan smugglers, that it's not simply the, you know, the green skin or whatever you were anticipating it was. There was something bigger, and it was part of a greater, you know, scheme across the mortal realms.
Yep. Okay.
Does that work for you, Sean? I mean, it's your character, so we don't want to put the just the. So then that would. How does Warzium think, now that you've gone through the binding, you've faced the Shaishan smugglers? Why is that something that is an important connection to him?
That question was to me?
Yes. Yeah. Why does Warzium think that is the important connection, that initial job you hired him for?
Well, I mean, history is important. I think there's... I'm not entirely sure in the setting, but now that I'm soulbound, maybe I have to be cautious, you know, kind of like a, you know, maybe it's a strange analogy, but, you know, when you hit it big, you know, that you get a certain amount of attention, whether it's wealth, some kind of power, and all of a sudden, you know, everyone likes you, quote unquote. Yeah. And so you go to your past, because those are the people that you trust, that they thought of, that you had a relationship before this happened to you, and so you want to see, you know, you already have something, and so you trust them because they reacted to you before you were like that. Maybe. Yeah.
Well, it's also, I mean, building on what you're talking about, the kind of quasi celebrity too. Cal may be the only one who's walked this path with you up to this point. Mm-hmm. Right, and that all started from you seeking out this drunken bartender, trying to, you know, talk about better times.
See, James is saying that he seems free. I don't know if it's too late for him, but he
is he?
He said that his flight had a situation, so he's check his whatever.
Oh, yeah. No, if you're able to join us, absolutely.
We've only made a few rolls.
Well, and honestly, right. I mean, I know James will hate having to play a tough female badass in a game. But we have Leisha that he can play, and she'll be a, what do you call it? Soulbound, or a Stormcast Eternal. And
did you work with other people before you worked with Cal?
Well, I tell you, of course not. You were my first, Cal. You were my original lieutenant, sir. My original.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I got something that works better. James has already got a character. Oh, if you say in chat, James is welcome to join as well.
Yeah, I did.
Did you? Okay, great.
Let's see if I can get his attention.
Oh, my water.
So let me see here. Oh yeah, here we go. And here's Malgra. And I just to change some of this around here. Metal. Okay, and toughness.
Well, while we're waiting, I had a little bit more background just of this tiny story to fill in that I think is kind of relevant. I like the idea that Cal had like his sword up on the bar, behind the bar, and in the corner of the bar was like his armor on a stand, and he had that stuff there to like spark people to ask if oh, that's some amazing armor. Oh, that's my armor. Everything's
high school uniform still in the living room.
Yeah. He's got everything set up to like trigger conversations about his glory days, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how patient Werzium's gonna be with that nonsense.
Well, that's part of why you wanted to get him out of there, I think.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Snap to.
How did Cal react to seeing Werzium's sudden aging after the binding?
Oh man, I think that was it was probably stressful because I feel like we haven't got to what my role means yet of why I are about my bond, what I care about, but obviously if I went with him, there's a new forming of a new band or a new friendship, since he had lost everyone, and so to see his sort of new friend age like that is like almost feels like he's being pulled to the grave. It's like oh he's a
how do you
human.
tell your friend that they look like shit? Like,
exactly. Why did confirming this bond between us pull you to the grave? I don't like that.
So then, and Werzium, I guess a related question: how does Werzium think of? He's devoted to Sigmar. It's the binding forged by Sigmar that caused you to suffer this loss. Does Werzium think of it as something intentional by Sigmar? Is it something that makes him question his faith, or does he accept it as this is the cost of serving the Hammer's will?
I want to say that I'm thinking it's possible that I give Cal shit about getting his shit together, and Cal, you might have it in your pocket to go, oh, so I can look like you? Yes. and then Werzium, could possibly roll his eyes and just, he's accepting of the fact that he used to, and of course, maybe he didn't he wants to think it wasn't that important to him, but now that it's gone, you're like, yeah, you just kind of you accept it grudgingly that it's a fact. This is the case. He looks like his grandfather, or at least, in his own mind, rather than holding on to youth. And I think he just chagrin. He accepts it with chagrin, a kind of it's an unfortunate. Yeah, it is what it is. He doesn't regret anything, but it's just an unfortunate. He misses it, but he probably, he won't actually say it, but his expression tells you everything you need to know.
So this is interesting, Cal. Your view of the connection with Werzium.
Yeah,
Werzium abandoned you when things went bad. Now, that is not necessarily the truth, but it is what your perspective on the connection is. When was that? This would again be before the binding, I think.
Yeah. Maybe it was even the sort of the way we described this joint mission that we went on where Werzium was after a witch or you know, something like that, and he needed my help because there was orcs involved. You know, maybe we got into the fray, and like you said, Werzium's not a warrior, and so he sort of left me alone to stand against the orcs while he went to take care of the witch. So it's like, you know, I almost was like a distraction for him or whatever to sort of get to the business that he really cared about.
The mission's always first, man. The mission.
And it could be a matter of miscommunication too, right? Like, Werzium may not be aware this is something he harbors, that like this is why, whatever, however Cal chooses to think of it, whether it is, I don't know, it's an interesting contrast,
right?
Yeah, it could be a different approach. That, you know, you figured we were comrade in arms, and the notion of me going off, you know, to continue on to the next step when you're still knee deep in orcs, like,
right,
you know, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
This was the plan all along.
This was the plan all along. I mean, we're not out here to fight orcs. We're here so I can dispatch this witch.
Right.
Well, not for nothing, Werzium's Cal, one of Cal's talents is actually a thing that allows him to boost when he picks an ally that he's in close range with, and he boosts either one of the melee, the accuracy, or the defense of both of you, so long as you're in close range.
That's Cal?
That's Cal. Yeah, Cal has a specific ability to try and boost the one of those three things for both of you, as long as you're in close range. So his tactics rely on that kind of, like, I need my ally at my side, and so that even mechanically it reinforces, it makes him shittier at whatever he was doing, whether it's melee or defense or whatever, when you aren't there in close range with him.
Well, if we were here to fight orcs, I would have been there. But that is not the purpose.
Exactly. I like this. And I also like the idea of, like, how that works in relation to the other, like, formative thing where he lost his whole crew. It's like, you know, maybe we were a band that all thought with that sort of similar technique, and it's like the strength together. And I've always been that, like, you know, sort of the formation of the shield is like our power, and then, like, as one falls, it's like now there's a hole in the chain, and it's like, eventually I was the last one. And that's maybe why my lesson at the end was that, you know, one person can make a difference. Like, I always believed in the sort of the shield, whatever you call that.
That's a really interesting way of thinking of it too. Not that, like, oh, I can make a difference. It's like, no, having that one ally beside me, that's the thing that makes the difference for me. That's so your combat abilities, or your abilities, incidentally, are bulwark. If 2 or more enemies are within close range of you at the start of your turn, your defense increases by 1 step, and it lasts until the start of your turn. That stacks with your Shining Company ability.
Right.
Combat ready is a background. You can never be surprised in combat. So you get +2 to initiative, and you can't be surprised in combat. Opportunist, once per round, you can immediately make an attack when an opponent attempts to move away from you. There are no attacks of opportunity in this, so that just grants you attacks of opportunity. And here's one that's the outlier for you. Vanish. You can attempt to hide even when there is no cover or shadows. Is that something you knew before becoming part of the Shining Company? Something you have adopted afterwards, or is that potentially why you survived that,
Yeah, maybe.
Those are talents, just for my
talents,
Talents.
Yeah.
And maybe that is part of the reason that we were selected by Sigmar to go to the Shadow Realm. Is, you know, my training of being one with the shadows.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I do like that.
Okay. Then, a couple questions for you. What is your family like? And more to the point, what is your relationship to them? Cal, you are no longer a member of the Shining Company, so I'm curious to see what your relationship with your family would be following those events in Werzium, you being the special boy. What is your relationship to them, particularly now that you've become a chosen and soul-bound by the God King himself?
It was all about the prophecy the whole time. It was a little... It was a little weary. It was a little wearisome. I mean, you kind of can't talk about it. It's like family stuff you can't talk about, but it got old. Like the constant, I mean, and you should be honored. Yeah, I know. I should be honored. I got it.
It sounds like Werzium was not... Does he believe the prophecy?
He wants to believe the prophecy.
Okay. So, might I suggest that your family is actually from Azir, from the realm of Sigmar? So picture giant gleaming cities, still mortal people living there, so the same kind of vices and problems and whatnot. It's not like heaven. It's still subject to the same whims and whatnot that humankind could be, but perhaps your family is as this favored thing. Maybe you came from ridiculous wealth or privilege or safety, and as trying to come to terms with this prophecy, maybe you're testing yourself by going to these more dangerous regions. And not for nothing, you became a witch hunter as opposed to, say, a paladin or, a priest of Sigmar.
I mean, maybe that the family doesn't necessarily entirely approve of the witch hunter bent, which would... where he decided he had a last minute tweak of, dad or mom where they're like, oh, sweet, paladin in the family. And I'm like, can you
imagine announcing it to your extended family too? Mother and father, I've agreed to join the priesthood of Sigmar. Everyone's like, we're so happy as a witch hunter. And then fucking silence falls over the banquet hall.
Right.
What?
Right, they've already got portraits of paladins to set up in the hallway and, this kind of nonsense. And
and there's busts of you at different ages that are kept in the family home.
Yeah. Okay. And I kind of satisfyingly wrecked it and then left, kind of on my...
When was the last time you've spoken to your family, or have you?
I don't think I'm estranged. I mean, I think I probably... I want to choose either that I'm a little estranged from one of them, and the other one is it's important to me. So I exchange should I go stereotypical?
You mean your parents?
Right. Should I go? I'm wondering if I should go stereotypical or counter stereotypical, meaning that, of course, is it my father that I've got a thing with or my mom? I think I'm going to go counter that. I think my mom was shattered at the witch part. Oh, you were right there. What are you thinking? You had everything. Yeah. Everything. And I gave it to you. A little of that too. And
the other members of the family are slowly hustling their kids out as your mom's having this fit.
Right. Family combat has begun. And so I think whatever makes sense in the setting, I'm thinking letters, but I write dad at certain, dad and I correspond, and he keeps me in touch with, your mother, she, blah, 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 and I get along with dad. So dad and I, he's like, he still, of course, says, you could have made it a lot easier on us, kind of that attitude. But
might I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
What if either mom or dad are wizards of the Wind of Azir? Your bent and your knowledge of fighting wizards. Those would be the good wizards. That'd be the light of heaven that they wield as spellcasters.
So the notion that I'm going after magic users leaves them a little sour. Is that kind of the...
I mean, it's assumed that you're going to go after witches and heretics and servants of chaos and the ruinous powers, but there's an element of, if you did grow up around wizards, there's an element of a lot of the tricks because you grew up around this stuff.
Yeah.
If you grow up the child of a doctor, you're going to know a few phrases and shit like that in common. You're going to know how to correctly pronounce some anatomy terms, because it's been used around the house.
Yeah, I guess, maybe since you mentioned doctors, maybe the analogy is you grew up in a family of doctors, and now your profession is to go after false doctors. And it's not like the doctors don't want false doctors, they don't want fraudsters, but you going after doctors is a little weird. It's got some kind of little bit off.
Yeah.
Can't you just become a doctor? Like, what about that? Did you ever consider that? Kind of a...
Did you have to kill doctors? Yeah.
Right. Did you have to hang doctors? Seriously?
What about you, Cal? What's your relationship like with your family?
So I mean, I picture someone who's moved their life to like being that of owning a bar and sort of a life of solitude that maybe it didn't work out so great. So I was thinking maybe, some of my brothers and or sisters were actually members of this band of, shield warriors that were involved in this orc fight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with the stereotypical thing. It's like the wrong son came home, it's like, right? Not the one that everybody loved, but it's like, oh, Cal survived. And it's like the parents kind of blame him, instead of like, great, our last son is still here. It's like, where's your brothers? They're dead. It's like, uh-oh. And so I think there's like a lot of like hard feelings there as far as like,
So are you dead to them, or as you might as well be?
Maybe. I mean, maybe it's a lot of that. Like, it's too hard for them to look at me because it just makes them think of all my lost siblings, right? And it's like,
yeah. Like it kind of there's that. What is it? The story about like, I mean, every country has one of those things of the First World War where one platoon from an entire town or entire street or whatnot, and like every one of them is dead or whatnot.
Exactly.
It could have been something similar where all your extended family was all in there too. So there's really nobody you can go where they just treat you differently and yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Okay. Who is your greatest ally or your best friend? And it need not be one another. You need not see them all the time. You may see them. They may be someone you knew from childhood or the course of your training or your career or whatever. But who is your greatest ally or your best friend?
I think that my greatest ally would be like my instructor or my trainer or whatever they would be, the soldier that like taught us our whole band. Maybe he's like the only one who sort of doesn't blame me for what happened and like still sees how hard it is on me, and so sort of has been a friend through this.
Okay. What about you, Ursium?
Do
you have an equivalent of like a Yennefer of Vengerberg or a... Yeah,
that's a good idea, because I was already thinking of female. And that's such a good example. It's a sexy example in more ways than one. Yeah, I mean, that's hard to pass up. I'm trying to think. Let's see. What would her...
Is she a witch?
That sounds too difficult, but I mean, it's spicy, but that's...
There are other... like battle mages are a thing, and there are good allied, say, witches of, and I don't want to. You've already got Shaiish being part of this in one way. What if she's like a druid, something really anathema to like a wizard of either Giron, the of like plants and life, or perhaps Gur, the realm of beasts.
So she's on the good side, but she's not like shining good side. She's kind of weird. Is that what you're saying?
It wouldn't be in the sort of like order versus chaos stuff. It would be outside of that. Probably closer to order than chaos, certainly, but apart from destruction, apart from death,
Yeah, and maybe Maybe my mom will forever suspect that she had something to do with my choices. But she's super hot, and I couldn't, and it's it couldn't be passed up. And we get along, and also I don't have to be careful around her. Like, she's kind of outside this whole thing.
Yeah.
She couldn't give a shit about the prophecy thing. Like, if I hear one more thing about the prophecy, and I'll go, yeah, I know. Like those kind of conversations.
Is it the kind of thing that you only tell people about once they get to know you?
Well, as long as they don't already know, which is part of the curse. Like, oh, here comes that guy again.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't really. Yeah,
are you Warsium of House?
Yeah.
Whatever the
I think I've probably had it with that. Like, the whole celebrity thing is just not. It's just tiring. It reminds me of Mom. I can't escape it.
So how does Warsium feel then, knowing that it was the prophecy that what caused you to be selected for the binding? Has that changed his perspective on the whole prophecy thing, or?
Well, I think it gave him a spark. I think that prior to that, I was probably I was more cynical before that. Before that, I'd had it with the whole prophecy thing. Mom was just wearing thin, the whole family deal. And I wasn't really too sure about the whole deal. Like, really? Like, you're going to be this, and this. And I'm like, oh, like, that was way too much. And it was since I was 3 years old. So, that's just enough. And then when I actually got picked, I'm like, really? Like, it was kind of like, huh. Like, it was a moment to go, what if? What if you are the one, or whatever? What if you are all that, or something like that? I think it gave him a shot to go, God, when she asked me, my nameless girlfriend at this point, when she asked me, what do you think of all that? I go, look, I want it to be true. Like, I am soulbound. Like, I think I sit on that. I don't like the celebrity of it, but the notion that I got picked gives me hope that because it could be just horrible. I mean, imagine if I wasn't anything. It would just be disastrous. Like, it would be,
This is part of what I think is interesting about the setting, too, is that, like, you have these grounded, grim, and, like, there's as dingy a bar as you could find in any of the, dives of the old world you can find somewhere in the mortal realms. But there's also these forces that are moving at, like, cosmic or at least deific levels. And the idea of you sitting in a, dingy, shitty bar with your girlfriend talking about, like, so the God King has a plan for me. And I know a lot of people say that, right. But I have an entire extended family and support apparatus that believes that that's the case. And it seems the God King does too.
Right. And then that happened, and it's like, huh, like it is truly inescapable after you get chosen. Like, it's okay. Well, this is happening. And I think probably even my dad gave me that speech. He's like, he sat me down and goes, look, this is happening. Like, I think he knew me from the beginning. Like, Mom was out in La La Land. Mom was seeing true glory or whatever that was. Yeah. And Dad was, I was almost tempted to pick Dad.
For anyone who grew up in a North American church, I think they know the social climbing, members of the church. So that perhaps sounds like what your mom is.
Yeah, and Dad was fully grounded. Not to mention because he lives with her too, so he knows what's up. He knows the full score left and right, and so he was the one to go listen. I've seen the whole thing. I know where you're at, but this is happening. So he gave me a good solid. I was already like, whoa, and then Dad's like, time to get your act together. This is truly happening. So it's time to grab it. Who knows what's going to happen going forward, but it's time to go. It's go time.
Nice.
You had doubts the whole way, but it's time to put that aside.
Does Cal still have touch with or keep touch with his best bud too? Is he? I'm
imagining it's probably difficult because he lives, he's wherever Cal's from, and so if I'm not returning there very often, then it's very sporadic.
Okay. Does he know that he has been soulbound?
Yeah, I think that would be something that I would wrote him a letter about or something, or maybe even went to speak with him. Maybe that's the last time I spoke with him. Mm-hmm. I traveled there to tell him, I've picked up the sword again, went on this adventure with this witch hunter, and now we've been soulbound, kind of thing.
Okay. Who is your worst enemy or your bitter rival?
Oh.
Someone from the same faction, one of the shadow foes that you faced, one of the greenskins perhaps, or something different that you've come across. Perhaps there's a witch who you've been chasing for years, Werzian, that you never managed to capture, a nefarious leader of a Tzeentchian cult. Cal, perhaps there's some renegade from your shining company that you were the last survivor, but beforehand perhaps someone betrayed you, or someone just turned, quit the company, or some other enemy you faced before. What do you guys think?
Right.
Also could be a rival too, where it's just a matter of there's a rival, witch hunter or member of the shining company that hates you, or perhaps worse, another member of your family who has become a priest or paladin or something similar. A member of the Stormcast Eternals, maybe. Someone who has died dozens of times and been reborn, and who may very well be an ancestor of yours, who knew of the prophecy and are like, you're the fucking prophecy kid? This is why I'm dying and being reborn all the time, is for you? What do you guys think? Who's your rival or bitter enemy?
Do the greenskins all live apart from the humanity? Is it like
generally, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. There's a little bit of overlap, but for the most part, no. Like, they have a very, very different culture than.
Yeah. Then I'm leaning for it to be something to do with this shadow smuggling ring.
Okay.
Maybe someone that did get away. So we think we got the leader, but there was, someone we fought that, evaded me multiple times, sort of a recurring enemy that, we've run into more than once, that has slipped through our fingers multiple times.
Perhaps someone not directly associated with it, but someone who's been supporting them?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, right. Someone who's been working on the other side, buying the realm stones or something,
Okay.
Or maybe it's someone we can't touch. Like, maybe it's someone who we know they're involved, but it's like we can't hurt them, and if we report back, it's like, oh well, okay, we'll deal with them. But then we show up again, it's like, there they are again. It's like, what the hell?
How would you think about it being a one of those elves affected by shadow?
Oh, that could be interesting. Yeah.
Okay. What about Werzium?
I am thinking of two possibilities. Let me think. Whether I want the actual enemy or a family thorn. Could possibly combine them. I think maybe I think part of the issue that really set this that was part of Mom's final disappointment was because she put her hopes, since I obviously didn't properly make decisions, that she put it in my sister's hands to be my younger sister, and then a witch that got away did something to her, did something to my sister, and that was just unforgivable. So I mean, here's her son that goes off onto this witch hunting thing and fails. I mean, it's one witch. Come on, Mom, give me a break. Can't catch them all. And so that witch comes back to haunt me in my own family with the next chosen one or whatever that my sister, according to my mom.
Do you think that the witch corrupted your sister rather than just killed?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Turned somehow, I don't know, fully maybe fully evil or just like kind of broke her, You could go that direction too.
You could not know as well. You could know that she was connected to her, and that the witch is responsible for her leaving with her. Perhaps you got word from your sister or something like that, but maybe at the start of the adventure or the campaign, you don't know. You don't know what's happening.
Say it again. Word from my sister that what?
Maybe you got word from your sister that she is alive, but with this,
witch
enemy. Yeah.
And I don't know the context.
Well, if you're undecided, like it's fine to know one way or the other what's happened to her, but if you don't know, if you don't want to decide one way or the other whether she was fully corrupted or whether she's still redeemable or whatnot, perhaps you just don't know yet.
We decide later, depending on what makes sense. That I get some cryptic note, and I think, can you imagine, like, if my sister goes with this, that is, if the worst is the case? I mean, I don't know. It's got kind of a, I can't think of the term, but of being permanently, my mom's just going to be, it's going to be an absolute disaster. Like,
oh my God! Can you imagine the next time you see your mom?
If there is one, like, it's just going to be a permanent schism. I mean, I don't think I have any doubt that my dad will be. I'll just have to write Dad more, but it'll be yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, I don't really know. I just get this weird note, like, are you kidding me right now? Like, it's just yeah.
Is there maybe some shared, I don't know, like inside joke or something that you and your sister shared, and that's maybe why. You know that she's with her now. Like, imagine if you guys had some shared little, like, I don't know, like a secret. God, she could be a twin. Because there's that sort of like, twins have or said to have at some point in their development sometimes have their own like shared babble kind of language to one another. I'm just really reaching here, but I mean, if it is that much of a connection with this sister. And maybe the prophecy was aligned. It's a misogynistic prophecy and was aligned only with you. So they turned to the good twin. And then when you went chasing after this witch, you found a marking, and it was in that, that secret tongue that only you two knew. And
you're thinking she inadvertently or advertently referenced it?
Is she taunting you? Is she crying for help? Is she just letting you know that she's alive?
Yeah, no, that sounds fine.
Unfortunately, that's a pretty specific implementation of it. I'm just tossing out ideas.
Yeah. I mean, if her being a twin would fit with, would make it even more snug with mom turning to her when I blew it, apparently.
That's what I was thinking, is that maybe there's an even more like, okay, well, we'll just pretend that, the prophecy we've all said has been about a boy. No, maybe it was misinterpreted. Yeah. She found some obscure research, a scholar in the Azurite faith who, or the Sigmarite faith who no, actually the prophecy is unclear.
Right. It could have been her.
Right. And then my sister perhaps references, so we both have this weird birthmark. It's a thing. I don't know what the thing is, but there's some thing, and it's not necessarily absolutely positively unique to us too, but it's weird. Like, it's unique-ish. Yeah. And then she says, "Oh, and I found another." Like, she says something like that. And I know that this witch has it. And I'm like, oh, what? You cannot be serious. Like, I don't even know if it's that witch, but it probably is. Like, it's not many have it.
Yeah. Well, and she promised to get back at you in some way, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably,
love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So
Kev, just to be clear,
yeah.
it almost sounds like game mechanics wise, like this is almost already a fear for Werzium that his sister is.
Yeah, it would be a rumor, definitely, at this point. A fear is something that is imminently about to become a threat. And unless he knows where, like, if we're starting the adventure with you finding out, like, well, I think she's in, X town or X city and whatever else, that's a fear. And she's building up there, whatnot. A rumor might be, like, that she's been... she was seen, in the city of Bright Spear, or she was seen in Anvilmar, or something like... Not Anvilmar, what's it called? Is it Anvilmar?
Like they were seen together.
Or even just the witch was seen there.
Oh,
So that would be a rumor of like, oh, okay, this is something that we maybe need to... You can actively go and seek it out, but until it becomes more than just this, speculation, it wouldn't become a fear. But this is the kind of stuff that exactly is the... the kind of fodder that we would be using over the course of an ongoing campaign, where you would say, like, Werzium might get, we would call it a rumor, but maybe like, Mother has not been herself. Maybe you've got another sibling who is like, something very odd has gone on. She's fallen in further with this sect within whatever. She keeps going to a retreat to deal with this stuff. I'm worried for her. That's a rumor. A fear is... Mother has left and is now spouting some really weird shit and insisting on taking up things. So, that's a fear. Mother has come with a coven of witches to overtake the whatever. That is a threat that you need to deal with. Right. Or conversely, like Cal, you might there may be word about the rumor is that the Shining Company is being redeployed for a defensive in the city. What can't remember what the city's called in. The Greywater Fastness. They've been redeployed there. You may have heard that. That's a rumor. And a fear might be, we haven't heard anything from Greywater Fastness in weeks now, and we don't know what's going on there, but someone should really look into this stuff. And a threat is what you discovering or realizing what is happening or has happened there. Not for nothing, the two adventures that have been published so far, both of them deal with the ultimate fate of two entire cities. Like the scale of threats that your characters face are on that kind of,
Right, because we're supposed to be like the high, powerful characters.
Precisely,
in this world. Yeah.
So does that make sense then?
Yeah.
Of the thing? Cool. Why don't we take our mid-session break now, and then I got 3 more questions for you, and then we'll talk about where we find you at the start of the adventure.
Nice.
So, for those listening at home, we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Okay. For those listening at home, I hope you're having a great start to your weekend, and long weekend, as the case may be. It's a long weekend in Canada this weekend. All right. We had a cloud burst here, Jeff, but it's still like fucking 24 degrees too. So it is ugly humid outside.
Yeah. Gross.
All right.
I think our hot weather's finally breaking here.
Yeah, ours is supposed to be by Saturday. Saturday's our last like 30 plus day, then it cools down to 20, 21, 22.
Yeah.
Which would be a nice break from it. And then, honestly, with the fires, we could use the rain anyway. Because we had a stretch of the last couple of weeks where we haven't had any rain. So your next, we'll wait for Sean to get back to get him going, but just to get your thoughts going on it. The next question will be, what is a secret that no one else knows?
Oh, interesting. Secret.
And let's see here. I'm going to find the name of that. Oh, Greywater Fastness is the name of that one. Is it Anvilmar? Anvilgard is the other city I was thinking of. One of the elven factions are the elves of Ulgu. They are that's the realm of Shayesh, of Shadow, and the shadowy queens of the Darkling Covens are some of the folks. They still are allied with Order, but you were talking about your other enemy that you still could have, Cal, related to that. That could be someone related to those Darkling Covens, perhaps. Right. So I closed the damn book. Sean, our next question is going to be... what is a secret no one else knows? Cal, you've had the question longer. What do you... Is there a secret that Cal has? The examples... I'll read you the blurb as well. Even those claiming to be an open book have secrets. You have something hidden away that no one else knows, or at least you hope so. It could be the true story of what happened to your missing parents, or the theft of precious realmstone from a doddering old wizard, or the secrets of what you had to do to survive in the wild. Whatever it is, you'd rather it stay buried and forgotten.
What if it's in relation to my my connection to the shadows, my ability to vanish, a family history that goes back to the Shadow Realm elves or something?
Yeah, they could be the elves of Ulgu. Perhaps you've got a grandmother who was a Darkling Coven member?
Yeah, something like that. A family secret.
That'd be kind of cool. Tell me if this is too much, but your enemy could be like a distant cousin or something like that as well.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
Okay. All right, so you have a connection to the elves of Ulgu. What about you, Wersian? What's a secret that no one else knows?
What if this witch in question, the aforementioned, what if it's a member of the family, like an extended member of the family?
Yep.
And it has a line. He had, let's see, I don't know. Yeah, he has a line on, it has always been his opinion that the prophecy doesn't apply to me or doesn't apply to the family. Something in there. Something in there.
Yeah. No,
and which is why he got away. Somehow, like, you know, somehow maybe I finally came upon him and I'm about to light him on fire, you know, whatever I do. And I'm like, and maybe I didn't really know who he was. I mean, maybe I was tracking him and he was just this visage and I went, Uncle Smidgen? Or, you know, whatever.
Is he on the father's side or on the mother's side, do you think?
I think it's got to be Mom because she's such the firecracker.
Yeah. So if and that is exactly the kind of personality, this dogmatic wizard know-it-all shit is precisely the kind of person that Tzeentch whispers to. If you want to know the real secrets of magic, magic is chaos. So you come to Tzeentch to know that shit. That's awesome. Okay, and that's a secret.
I was about to light him on fire, and I saw his face, and I'm like, oh God, you know, it's just so complicated. Like the whole thing just rushed.
Uncle Candy in your pockets. Oh no, it's you.
No. So he got away. And he used the moment, of course, in my hesitation. And now he's got the sister. Like, whatever that means. You know, or he probably has the sister, whatever.
Love it.
And that's why he has the birthmark. That's why.
Yeah. Love it. Has your birthmark changed at all? We talked about you being old and whatnot, that thing. What if your birthmark changed?
I wouldn't call it old, says Worzian.
I was listening to a podcast today where one of the guys mentioned someone turning 40 and being old, and one of the other hosts lots of shit on that. They're like, that is not fucking old.
Yeah. My mom did that. I mean, in my you know, ridiculousness. I when I turned 30, you know, I was having deep thoughts about it. Mom's like, "You are killing me. You are just
over yourself.
You are so young. It's unbelievable." You know, this kind of, you know, the epitome of youth is wasted on the young. You know, that kind of a moment. Yeah,
exactly. Oh my goodness. All right, so then I love that. That's great. So we got Uncle Corruption.
Uncle Corruption
and Anti-Ulgu. This is turning out great. Okay, so then let's see here. Your next. What is your worst fear? Fear is a constant in the mortal realms. Fear of starvation, fear of death, or fear of what lies beyond the walls of the city. There is something you are afraid of, something that creeps into your thoughts in the moments, in that moment just before you lay your head down to rest, something that makes your skin crawl and leaves a sick feeling in your gut. Maybe you have a fear of creeping insects. Maybe you have a fear of the ocean itself and the horrors that lie beneath. Or maybe it's not death you fear, but the rebirth you must be forced to endure in the God King's name. What do you guys think?
It feels a little inevitable that his worst fear is somehow it's just a giant mistake. Like his whole thing, like it's so complicated that now I need to be a superhero to unravel this shit. Like it's just awful. You know, by the time it was already pretty rough, but I made my peace with it. Writing Dad from afar and Mom and the whole nonsense. Oh, until I got the note from my sister, and I'm like, oh God, this is so awful. Because if I'm not all that, if I'm not just the cat's meow, like the powerful whatever, how do I have a chance at unwinding this ridiculous nonsense? Like if I'm an average schmuck. And I think I had this conversation with Dad, and Dad's like, you got to let that go. I mean, you know, you were chosen. It's over. Like, leave it be. Like, stop with all. I mean, I get your doubt and your cynicism. We should have waited. Yes. You know, I could not possibly keep Mom from telling you, but we should have waited. You know, at least till you were 10 or something, and we didn't. You know, it was like the first words out of our mouth to you is the chosen one, you know?
Yeah.
And we should have waited, but we didn't. But the fact is, you were chosen. Leave that bullshit. You've got to leave it be. And so it's my constant problem to not. He goes, if you keep doubting, the only thing that could stop your binding, I mean, not stop it, but the only thing that could demo it is you. You're the only one. No one else can do it. Just you, you know?
With that observation on your prophecy, one thing I have, it feels like there's a good way of understanding why he finds the hiring of Cal for that job was the most important connection to him, because had he not walked through that fucking bar's door and hired that bartender to help him into Gul Dulgur, it would not have led you to the path of uncovering the smugglers, of being selected by Sigmar, of being bound to this person, and then being set upon the path of prophecy. Right?
Yeah, meaning that Cal is intrinsically woven into my...
It could, maybe he sees it that way, but it could just be a matter of like, you know, if I had just pursued a different avenue of interest, you know, I don't know how you feel about that. I'm not saying that you should have gone somewhere else, but had you not walked through that door and had his insight into that stronghold, and then had pursued that thing that uncovered the connection with the Shaishian smugglers, then you wouldn't be bound to this person by the God King, seemingly as an act of manifesting or revealed prophecy.
Yeah, and I think and I have doubts. I mean, my usual is I don't know what it means, but it means Cal can't go too far. I got to keep Cal around, you know. I got to Cal was part of it, and and I trust Cal, and maybe Cal's woven. I don't know, into the whole thing, the prophecy. I don't know.
And how does that work? If you're a prophesied soul, how does it work when you are now bound together by those souls?
If I tell you that, Cal, if I like we're in our moments around the campfire, and we're laying there, waiting to go to sleep, and I start mumbling about, Cal, maybe you're woven into the prophecy. What do you think as we're laying there, trying to go to sleep, and I start, and of course my mind is still, and so all sorts of nonsense spills out of there. And so what do you think when I say that?
I think that as far as the prophecy stuff, I like the idea that Cal is very much an elf, and elf lives and elf, it's important stuff. What you humans are doing, it's a little less important. Your prophecies are sort of less important in the grand scheme of things. So I think he plays it off a little bit of like it's a lesser thing to him. He's not overly drawn into it, and so I think that if you're telling him he's a part of it, he's like, of course I'm a part of it, like we're friends, and this is your destiny of your life. So he kind of plays it off as more like not that it's like this big powerful magical thing, but more that it's just like some fortune teller. It is all your future. Well, and of course we're gonna do great things together. Like to him, it's like more of a, you had your tea leaves read, and of course you have a great destiny. What do you mean you're the chosen? Like, he doesn't see the same important in it as like your family does, and I guess maybe you're starting to, but to him it's like he downplays it.
And I think that's attractive in some way, because it's not the same as my mom, where, you are the one, this whole,
right.
Oh, God, please give me a break on that whole thing. And you're like, yeah, it's just okay. Like, don't get too wrapped up in, and that was similar to Dad. Had some overwash with Dad's message of like, you were chosen, that's all that matters, leave all the bullshit, please just go out and be chosen, please.
Right.
Stop with all your nonsense, please, this time.
So what about Cal? What is your worst fear?
So I think that Cal's worst fear is being alone. And whether that's like, the old adage of like, we all die alone in the end, or just like being left alone with his thoughts, because then it, you know, drifts to these like this dark history. So, you know, he has a great fear of being alone. And so I kind of think that like it could fit too a little bit that Werzium, you know, maybe that's kind of, he played to that fear a little bit, and that's how he got Cal out of the bar originally when he tried to hire him, is like, you know, played to that fear a little bit, because Cal's like, well, you know, the idea of when you're running a bar, you never feel alone because there's all these people there, but sort of maybe Werzium pointed out to him, like, none of these people are your friends. None of these people are really here with you. And, you know, like, you get them to like look around the bar and like they're all here with their friends, laughing, having a good time. And you sort of realize like they're here because you're serving them alcohol. Like, you know, like, yeah, they're not here because you're their friend. You know, this is a nice bar. Prices. Yeah, you have cheap prices and it's a nice place. Like, of course people are here. Like, he sort of woke them up to the idea of like, you know, because maybe there was some trepidation with going with him, and then like sort of after he woke him up to that, it's like, you know, wait, don't leave me here alone. You know, he sort of left with them, like, close the bar and put his armor back on, and all right, let's go back into the world, because you're right. Like, this is, I'm hiding here, but I am alone. You know, he felt alone again.
And that fits in with the connection you described with him too, about the his most valued connection is Werzium abandoning him at some point.
Right. Yeah.
So,
stop worrying. Werzium probably returns the favor around the campfire before you're falling asleep, and you know, if you ever said anything like that, you know, Werzium rolls his eyes and go, "Oh God, seriously?
Like, all right, fine, I'll be Big Spoon. Come here."
Calm down. I'm not going anywhere. Are you kidding? Calm down.
Right. I left that one time and I didn't really leave. I just went to kill the witch.
One time.
You know, and in fairness to him, you know what might also be, if it was back in, I'm calling it Goldolgur now, because like I thought it was funny at first and now I can't get it out of my head. So the Citadel of Goldolgur, you were there alone before, but last time it was because everybody fucking died.
Right.
So it may very well be a matter of like, you know, post-traumatic stress that is triggered with the, like, he is back, yeah, but like you remember that moment where he wasn't there when you thought he would be.
Exactly. Well, and there's lots of thoughts there. Like, maybe I've been brought back here to die. Like, finally fall on the land, on the grounds where, you know, all my brothers and cousins died.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of fear that happened there. So
Cal's not having any of that. I mean, you know, Cal is so much more straightforward when it's not him. When he's got to worry about, when Werzium's got to worry about himself, he's very tangled as usual, kind of thing. Yeah. But he hears anything from Cal and like, oh my God, give me a break. Have a pint and calm down.
All right, next one. I actually have two more questions. Sorry. Next question, guys. What do you desire most? Absent your concerns for obligation, for family, for debts due, what is it that you desire? Absent any of those kinds of entanglements.
Right.
I got to change earbuds. You go.
Oh, Joe.
Sure.
So what it says is our desires can drive us to do great and terrible things. A desire for companionship sees the birth of a family. A desire for safety can see a city grow from nothing. A desire for order and control can reshape the realms themselves. What is it your character desires? Do they long for gold, for precious realm stone, or for lost secrets of the age of myth? If your character could have anything at all, what would it be?
I think it's to be a part of, you know, I guess what he would call a family at this point, right? He's trying to find a new family. His, what were they called? The Shining
Company.
The Shining Company was his family, like literally, and, you know, in their brotherhood as their mission and fighting side by side. and that was taken away from him. And so I think that, like, in his mind, he had built that up with his bar and his regular patrons, but that illusion was shattered, and so now he's looking for a new family, essentially. So
like a brothers in arms almost kind of thing.
Brothers in arms, yeah. Not a wife and kids necessarily. I mean, that might be a part of it, but more, he's always been a soldier in that thinking, and so it's more like that. And so I guess he sees Werzium as like the first of many.
Yeah.
Hopefully, in his mind.
Yeah, because the bindings can grow as well. Like, you can expand and whatnot.
Right.
What about Werzium? What does he desire most? I don't want to alarm you, Sean, but I think you've got an old guy being your big spoon.
He's super old, too. He's ridiculously old. He looks really stern, too.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense to just keep going with it and say he really wants to be what he's supposed to be. He wants to be all that. Like, it's gained in great importance in his mind, and practically probably. That he's got to get this whole thing straightened out. It's important, and it's probably helped him. It's helped him in ways that he doesn't really recognize. That of course, we're forged not through parties. We're forged through problems. We're forged through challenges.
Yep.
And so this challenge is probably going to make him who he is. So, and So his desire, and that lines up with his desire, even though he doesn't see any positives in any of it. This challenge is focusing him. So he needs to be who he is supposed to be, and that's going to help him figure this out. The smugglers, and then his sister, and deal with the uncle, and finally, he wants to have a proper relationship with his family. As it, that feels down the line a ways, but that to some point, to get this all straightened out and to just have a relationship with his mom that as he should, like, I am who I am. Like, let's everyone calm down. This is how it is. And, here's sis. She's fine, hopefully, fingers crossed. And,
she's got 3 tentacles now, but
right.
Whatever.
Well, not to mention the uncle who I had to burn alive. It happens.
Your brother's gone, but sister's back.
Let it go. Let it go, Mom. Your brother's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm
Here's a thought, too. If your uncle had the same marking as you, and it is a familial prophecy, maybe they don't talk about the first aborted attempt at the Chosen One.
Ooh.
Your uncle may have been the first favored child and whatever else and went awry. It may very well be that, oh my God, you said it's an uncle of your sister. They may have been twins, too.
Oh,
my mom and the uncle.
Your mom and the uncle.
So the fact, like, the how shitty she is to you may be in part something that happened in her childhood with her brother.
Yeah, it could be, with dad being insufferable on the child because dad never went to the NFL. Maybe it should have been, she thought it should have been her or whatever.
Sure, she maybe thought it was her brother, and then her brother disappointed, and she didn't think to seize on, like, well, let's reinterpret this shit. And then she has this prophesied child, and, maybe she's all the time along thinking, like, you're going to fuck it up just like Uncle Fuck Up over there.
Yep. And it was critical that I succeed, just critical. And of course, no, I had to make this choice. I mean, if it had been accidental, maybe she could even live with it, like as if something went wrong, randomly went wrong. But instead, everything went right, other than my son fucking it up on purpose.
Exactly. And then she's like, fuck it, we're going to make the child. It's like the stage mom, forcing your sister into embracing something that she may have thought she should have done. Well, I could have been the chosen one instead, and then your sister falls to Uncle Corruption.
But I don't. I'm thinking my mom doesn't know that the uncle's a witch. I didn't know, and so my mom doesn't know that her uncle is massively fucked up.
What's it gonna do?
That her brother fell so far.
Yeah, fell so far. Like, I don't know what she thinks. She'll have to figure out what she thinks. But I'm thinking that she doesn't know, because I didn't know. I mean, if the family's a witch and if the uncle's a witch, and anyone knows, probably all know. It's not for sure, but probably. And if Warzium didn't know, there's a pretty good chance Mom didn't know. Maybe I don't know if she knew. Maybe I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I mean,
you haven't talked to her in forever too.
Right.
But here's another fucked up thing. If it is a lineal, if it is a thing that goes through lineage, what if you and your uncle are caught up in the same prophecy?
Yeah. Oh, I think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, okay.
It's going to take a while. It's a whole campaign. You gotta.
Yeah, it's a whole campaign. And Cal's always telling you, look, Warzium, it was supposed to be your mom and her brother together were the chosen one. Your people just keep misinterpreting this, and then you got a second chance. It was supposed to be you and your sister together. You know, it's like
I probably reply, and what's your point? What is there good news in this? What?
Yeah, you guys keep screwing it up.
Oh, it's going to be even more devastating.
Maybe you need to have children.
Yeah, when your beast witch girlfriend has twins.
I will teach your children properly for you, Warzium.
That's when Mom sweeps in and kidnaps the kids to raise them in something.
So you're telling me to go impregnate my hot dry girlfriend? Is that what you're going to tell me, Cal?
She is a witch of life. So
yeah, exactly.
There you go. All right.
You must try again.
What about you, Cal? So, you desire companionship, and Warzium desires the prophecy to be, or a resolution to prophecy, a revelation, I guess, of prophecy. So the final thing is, why are you doing this? It takes a very particular type of person to venture out into the mortal realms and confront forces of chaos, death, and destruction. This is one of the most important questions you'll answer. It is what makes your character different from those that happily accept their lot in life. It is, in essence, what makes you a player character and not a non-player character. What is it that has driven you to this life? They give some examples, but I think you guys have a really good idea now of who these people were before the binding, why they were selected for it, why they chose to get into it. And even though you're bound, you're not like compelled to go along with it any longer. Nothing to stop you guys from walking away.
Well, at first, he joined the first group out of duty, but now him and Warzium are chosen. In that way, he'll go along with Warzium's destiny, and also feeding into that keeps them together, and that's sort of what Cal wants, right? He wants someone that he can sort of latch on to, and a friend that is
Here's a dark thought for Cal. If all of your battle brothers in the Shining Company had not fallen, you would not have been in place to see Warzium become this pawn of prophecy.
Right. Oh, that's heavy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't ever go down that train of thought. He doesn't let himself at this point.
Okay.
That they had to die.
Yeah, for him to be in this position.
Oof. What about Warzium? Why is he doing this?
Because he is, I think he's finally got the purpose. He's finally got enough purpose. This gives him a chance to follow his dad's advice. I don't know if it was forever ago, but sometime back when he said, just go go be the chosen. Like, you've got to just go be that. Stop with all this navel gazing. I mean, not that you didn't have reason, and yeah, mom and dad, we screwed up a little bit there, but you know, you gotta go do this thing. And he realizes to go do this thing, you just have to go do it, which is weird because it's too simple, but it actually is the fact. Like, you got to go deal with these smugglers, you know, this is all part of it. These are the steps, and you got to do it. You got to go do it. It's just really that simple. Go fulfill your destiny, and this is it, one step at a time. And I think it's enough. He thinks now it's enough, and he is determined, because somehow dealing with these smugglers, in a sense, is the key to fixing his family.
Okay. Then, let's talk about rumors then from your enemies, allies, whatnot. I think, well, let me ask you this. For your as yet unnamed uncle, have you pursued, and I imagine if you were pursuing him as a witch before, you knew him by some other moniker, you know? The Witch of Darkfire Crag or something like that. Yeah.
And I don't think I've told my dad yet. I think I've alluded in a letter that we have to have a serious conversation. So that, you know, I've alluded to this, but I can't possibly do it by letter. And I'm
why have you not?
You
could travel to Azir now that the realm gate is open here. You could travel to Azir from here. I take it you have not yet.
Yeah, probably not. I've told him it's time for father-son talk number 2.
Yeah.
Of you know, since I've been chosen.
How long ago did you learn that the Witch of Darkfire Crag was your uncle?
Probably not. I'm thinking probably not that long, because I think it triggered my uncle to take my sister in whatever the context is.
How long has sister been gone? You're thinking like 6 months, within the last calendar year, within.
I mean, if I just got the note, if we're saying that I just got this note that, like, possibly...
Well, you also have responsibility, so you could have found that out and then got thrown into whatever your last adventure was, and you're just recouping in, or maybe you did fire it. Like maybe the note is the last thing you found before returning to Brightspear to check back in with your superiors and the witch hunters, or whatever your
when I came back, maybe that's when I got my mail, and in essence.
So she actually reached out to you through that. Through the email. It's not a matter of like you were pursuing the witch and then you found a mark there that could only have been made by your sister.
I was thinking, which just adds more mystery, I think, is that she actually contacted me. You know, it's not an accident. Like, it's not something, I didn't find the matchbook under the bed. It's like, or whatever. It's that she contacted me checking in for some reason. But in it, she goes, oh, by the way, you know, the whole oak tree thing, I found another. And I'm like, oh, what? And somehow this leads me to put together, wait, no.
Yeah, because you already said that you confronted your uncle, right?
I've already confronted the uncle. And so I already know that. And then she makes this comment that I've found another, and I think that I know that the uncle is part of the prophecy. Like, after seeing his face and he gets away, and I realize, there's a lot going on. I realize that my uncle's evil. Oh, great. My mom's uncle's evil, and he's part of the prophecy somehow,
make a suggestion?
some way. Yeah.
What if your sister, when you had that moment where you paused in taking your uncle down, and it's your sister who's the one who knocked you out or did something to prevent you from, getting your wits together and going on, and then that's the reason she wrote you the letter, to sort of give context to this is why.
Like why she betrayed you,
yeah,
basically.
This is why, brother. He has the same prophecy.
And he is an uncle. There's that
yeah,
too.
and then the knowing now that he's, he has such a striking resemblance to your mother, or to one of the busts. If we had busts of you in the house, perhaps there was one of your uncle that they just don't talk about. Maybe you found that hidden, and that's why you were sort of obsessive about, this dude, and why the memory is so... if you're a witch hunter, you're probably quite good at uncovering mysteries, and maybe it's the face on the bust that was in your mind, because, like, I don't know who this person is, and no one will fucking tell me who this person is. We just don't talk about that stuff, and then you see that face on the revealed, face of the Witch of Darkfire Crag, and then it's your sister who strikes you down with it, and perhaps a week or so ago is where you got this word from her giving context to why.
I mean, in that case, I might not even need the letter, but yeah, maybe. Like, I mean, it could be that I was just about to set him on fire, and burn him alive, and like I see his face, like all of a sudden this crazy life-turning, 6 seconds happen where he turns around and I'm like, are you kidding me? And then in the next, and I'm like reaching out to like torch my uncle, sort of like in
blast him with your banishing pistol,
right, and
the sanctified
and then
pistol,
she
or whatever.
does something to me, and like my last moments of consciousness are like her saying, instead of the letter, maybe that my last moments of consciousness is, maybe she kisses my cheek, or says something like, don't hate me, brother. Something like some kind of poignant.
Okay, so you maybe even stewing over that. That's the last thing you have come from, is this facing this witch cult that has. Are they connected to the smugglers, or is that another problem to deal with? Because I'm fine with it being a second problem. If the witch was before, I think it's a separate thing, because it's before you guys ever got into this,
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. And I never got a letter. That's not necessary.
Then
awesome.
At this point. That's great. So you got her. Yeah, you've been stewing around Brightspear.
And there's still mystery. I don't really know what's going on here. Is she a witch? I don't think so. I don't really know. She's with the uncle somehow. Or did she just not want her uncle to die? I don't really know.
Well, what the hell does it mean that he is part of this prophecy as well? Sounds like after the binding, you came to some sort of resolution with what your place in this prophecy was, and now suddenly there's someone else in this. And your mom has been part of this?
Was she? Like, I don't know if I even know. Like, no. I mean, she never talked about it. And now my sister, I think definitely knew, like she's there saving him. How could she not know? I think she knows. And if she knew, what's that mean? Like this,
Maybe your mom revealed more to her than she ever did to you.
But I'm the one.
Because if they thought you were the child of prophecy, and if mom thought that her brother was the failed child of prophecy, there may be a reason why at one moment of weakness she revealed it to the daughter and never told you, and swore her to secrecy. I love the character generation in this game. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I was going to check. Here we go.
It really feels like it sets you up for a campaign by the time you're done.
And that's what it's funny, because it's a thing I found last time. Like, rather than just like writing an adventure that had a little bit of a combat encounter in it and whatnot, and spending more time just playing, like talking about the characters, setting them up in the world, was just a much more interesting way of, a different way of exploring the world, but I think gave it a much better feeling of what the possibilities were with the game. I suppose just like, oh, that's how combat works in this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What I was looking for. Oh, well, I'm gonna check on mine here. Ugh. And so it sounds to me like you guys have been like maybe half a month back in Brightspear. Does that sound about right?
Sure.
Cal? Yeah, just a few weeks. Yeah, that sounds good.
On here. All right. Thought so. Okay. I say she's a keeper of secrets, but that's Slaanesh, not Tzeentch. Tzeentch is the Lord of Change. So Wurzium's been dealing with the outcome of that. Cal, what about you? It sounds like we have rumors of the witch fleeing east across the Parch, or maybe north. What about Cal? What do we think? Your cousin, the witch, or not witch, but the sorceress of Ulgu. What's your relationship been with her? Just is this a more of a full-on adversarial thing, or does she feel that you're betraying? We're playing with the themes of families in this. Do they feel that you're, Let me ask you this: did Cal draw on his heritage as an elf of Ulgu to survive that impossible encounter?
Yeah, I think we sort of said that in passing earlier in the discussion. I like that idea. Like maybe that's, how he once he was alone, right? It's not the kind of ability or trick you would use when you're fighting with your shield brothers, right? You're fighting together. But once he's alone, maybe that's what threw them off. He started hiding in the shadows and sort of, continuing to take these orcs down. And they weren't ready for it. They had studied our technique, our sort of shield technique, and had figured out how to sort of take us down head on. And that's what sort of turned the battle for me, was using this shadow and hiding and fighting in a very different manner than they were prepared for.
So your enemy then. Is this someone who like full on hates you and wants to kill you because of your abandoning that heritage, or for whatever other reason, or is it someone that is trying to corrupt you, or are they, is there a distant relative who wishes to try and bring you into the fold, but this enemy hates you for that? You are connected to prophecy in a way now that maybe was not foreseen.
Right. That is true. I feel like the enemy, it's maybe more, there's like a thought of we should be on the same side kind of aspect to it, but have just never found ourselves on the same side, right? And so once you have clashed with someone a few times, then it's very hard to see how you ever could be on the same side.
Did you know of the ancestry of the elves of Ulgu before you encountered this shadow smuggling thing, or is it something that you learned about afterwards?
I feel like this is something that maybe it's a case of like there were rumors or that kind of thing previously, but like actually being involved in this soul binding where we were dealing with these smugglers and actually getting to see these elves close up is when it sort of like really clicked of like, oh, maybe there is something to this. It sort of revealed the truth by seeing them up close. Maybe he had never met them before this point, one of them. And so it was a revelation.
It sounds to me like the shadow issue was like 2 adventures ago at least. When the last time you dealt with them, and your last adventure dealt with this Uncle Witch of the Darkfire Crag. It sounds like Wurzium is kind of reeling from the revelation about this, and he's not actively trying to find the uncle again right now. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I think the the smugglers somehow came up, and he's focusing on that. He didn't know what to do. Like, it's so complicated. He's a little overwhelmed. He's overwhelmed with the family dynamic.
Sure.
Always tough. He thought he'd found a spot. Like, he thought he was okay. Like, he found a spot. Then in like 6 seconds, he finds out that a witch is his uncle and his sister defended him. And what? And everything just shatters. Everything's just turned upside down, and that snow globe is like. And so, like, smugglers sounded amazing. Let's go kill some smugglers.
There's actually, so I can tell you, there's not. It depends on whether Cal thinks there is. There may not be any rumors about the smugglers as of yet. Do you think that Cal has been looking into his cousin at all, or been trying to keep his ear to the ground on that, or?
Probably, because I probably wanted to. If we've been back in, sorry, what's this place called? Bright Spear for a couple weeks, he's probably giving Werzium a little bit of space to deal with his family stuff.
Yeah,
you're probably the only one I've told.
Right. That's fair. But I mean, probably every time I've brought it up, you kind of are like, trying to move on from it. So, or at least not. Yeah.
I'm triggered in an exasperated. I'm just like, I just don't know what to do. I'm kind of.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about what your life in Bright Spear is like. I mean, I'm assuming that this is going to be, for now, this is the place you return to. I don't think you necessarily fought as part of the campaign to liberate Bright Spear, but in the time since the Tzeentchian occupiers were driven out, it certainly gives you plenty of opportunities to do a lot of good for a lot of people in the city. What were your short-term goals again? Just so I remember.
Do something to keep the local free people safe.
Oh, right, to help with the defenses. Right. Okay. And Cal, do you remember what yours was?
I have a desire to gain knowledge in a field to which I subscribe to prove a rival wrong.
Who do you think that rival is?
Well, maybe that rival is my cousin. So maybe I'm trying to, learn this, either learn more about this technique, this shadow hiding technique, and like maybe I'm trying to prove that like it's existed here in this realm. The elves of this realm learned it, and it's just a coincidence that it's the same or similar to what they do, or you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to like find its history or something, so that it's like, oh no, this isn't my family. I'm not related to those guys. This person's lying to me to try and trick me, essentially.
Okay. So what? Where do you think you guys would? I guess what would your downtime look like in Bright Spear? Then are you guys? Do you have an apartment, or do you rent a place? Do you own a small dwelling? The witch hunters are pretty mobile. You probably could stay in barracks or something like that for the time, but what do you do with your free time when you're in Bright Spear?
We seem a little inseparable, so I assume we live together. You think?
Yeah, I think so.
Cal? Yeah.
So one way of thinking is: are you in lower tier, under the shadow of that upper tier? Are you in the upper tier, in sort of the very bright above everybody kind of thing, or are you living in the new city?
So my family is kind of well-to-do, right? So I could possibly afford it?
But in Azir. No, and you've also disowned yourself from them, so probably not. Okay. At best, you're thinking of like a fairly modest dwelling right now.
Gotcha. And how about Cal? What is you're a bartender, owner?
Like, I don't know, maybe I sold it to someone, and we have like, part of the deal is there's like a room in the back that's like, my room or whatever at the.
Or you let your clever barmaid run it while you're gone.
Yeah.
Either way.
Right.
What do you prefer still to own it or no?
No, I like the idea that he would have. Well, maybe. maybe he still owns it. I mean, if we're drawing some parallels just for fun, metagame wise, to like Calidor of our Night Below game, I mean, we do still own the silver boulet in that game, so
yeah,
owning a bar in this game would make sense.
It
I
also
guess.
dates back to our Iron Kingdoms game too.
Yeah, we do like to own bars.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe he still has it then, so maybe we stay there.
Okay.
You know.
So what if it is a place you've sold that you just routinely have always a place that you can stay?
Yeah.
Someone else operates a thing. I just don't want to have to deal with running a business.
No, and I agree. Like, someone else is running it. It's just a room. It's just a place to live at this point.
Okay.
Is the way I was thinking of it. Not
are you
as a
thinking
business to
lower
deal
tier, new city, or upper tier? I'm assuming we're scratching out upper tier if it's kind of a...
I assume it's more expensive.
Upper tier would definitely be... It's where like the universities are, where the... let's see here. Yeah, like aristocracy, where the magical colleges are going to be built. From the way you described it,
lower tier or new city would seem to be the two.
Yeah, let's take a look at the lower city.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know the difference to choose which one.
So the lower city, let me tell you here. Lower tier is the name given to the lowest several levels of the old city, a maze of ancient buildings stitched together with bridges and staircases, as well as streets and alleys. This part of the city is cool and dark, always under the shade of the upper tier. While it lacks the grand palatial structures and open spaces of the upper tier, the lower tier has history. This is where most of Brightspear's everyday commerce takes place, from boutiques to general goods stores to trade in the bright and shadow markets, named for how much daylight they get rather than the deals that take place there. There are entertainments galore, from taverns to theaters and even sculpture gardens, where busy old city dwellers can steal a moment of peace away from the noise and bustle of city life. The lower tier is also home to many important and unsightly city institutions, such as hospitals, jails, and Brightspear's central crematorium. If it's too important to risk placing in the new city, but not stately and grand enough for the upper tier, it's here, in the lowest tier. The streets of the lower tier are safe for the most part. Respectable folk with property and possessions to protect live here. And because they drive Brightspear's economy, they are well protected by free guild soldiers not currently needed to ensure the city's safety. And in contrast, the new city...
Mm-hmm. I'm leaning towards that from the description, but...
Mm-hmm. The new city is a story of progress, with each building built atop ancient ruins dating from the ancient Agloraxian Empire. New structures raised by the disciples of Tzeentch were shattered when the Celestial Warbringers assaulted the city. As the Sigmarites rebuilt, the Necroquake struck, forcing the defenders to torch their homes to exorcise the restless dead. But even now, new construction continues, for there is little space to expand in the old city, and ambitions to grow Brightspear are never-ending. Even when all the new city is reclaimed, walls will rise around the existing perimeter to extend the dominion of Sigmar. Whatever else the Agloraxians were, their people were prolific city builders. Silver towers crossed by narrow bridges were assembled to overlook new public thoroughways, their winding paths linking the city and threads like a spider's web. Demolishing everything and starting over could take a generation, and the nobles of Brightspear are impatient. Instead, they dare occupy the houses of their enemy, gangs of flagellants, purifying the sites with their own holy blood. Aspirant mages burning back the corruption of chaos, reducing whole blocks to ash and prompting new construction. The city's planners are pleasantly surprised by how well the existing infrastructure maps to the blueprints of Valius Malidi, the great architect who masterminded Brightspear's reconstruction before his disappearance. Some sections of the new city, yet to be reconsecrated, are settled by the poor, desperate folks with nowhere else to go. Many fall victim to cults, undead specters, or predatory magic. But worse are those who survive the encounters with Brightspear's dark side but become seduced by its evil. So the enemy within manifests again, and history is doomed to repeat itself. The ruinous powers creep into the hearts of mortals and turn them upon one another. Despite the many dangers, civilization still flourishes in the new city. The safer zones overflowing with shopkeepers, street preachers, travelers, and everything else you'd expect from a flourishing city of Sigmar. A regular influx of immigrants, Azerite settlers, Aspirian delegates, reclaimed Axian tribesfolk, and traveling merchants bring much-needed skills and labor, even as they test the city's population limits. Despite the efforts of the Fire Slayers and the Free Guilds, there is far less security here than in the old city, and most locals learn to take care of themselves. Though there is much poverty, Axian perseverance in the face of hardship wins out, and life in the new city certainly beats the desolation beyond its borders. So what do you think, guys? New city? Old city?
The new city would fit better with my short-term goal of protection of the folks, but you know, what do you think?
Could be at the border as well.
Yeah, what if it's right on the edge of the...
Right.
Yeah, so it could be that, it's just on the edge, perhaps near the Bright Market, or the Brighton Shadow Market, and maybe Werzium, to where we find you at the start, is perhaps trying to maybe organize a neighborhood watch in one yet to be reclaimed part of the new city.
Okay.
What do you think, Cal?
Yeah, I like being on the edge.
What is the name of your tavern?
I don't know the name of any of the, creatures or anything in this.
Much of what you see in Warhammer, so like there are demigryphs and, where's my bestiary? I can tell you some of the signature just beasties in here.
We need a signature beast to...
dragons, Aether Wings, Adopex, Dracoth, Dracoline, Griffin, Demigryph, Charybdis, Drakespawn, Phoenix, Mournfang, Oktar.
Maybe something about the Phoenix.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What do you think?
So, it's funny because we always like to put silver in the name. So maybe it's the Silver Phoenix, which is little odd because it's like, what?
Okay. Well, Silver Phoenix may be rather than the Fire of Axi, of Axi, it could be Azir. The Silver Fire of Azir, so like almost like a heavenly phoenix.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
Okay. And perhaps the Silver Phoenix, you sprung for wood for the sign that comes from Shaman. Like silverbark wood.
Yeah, very
Werzium things, or that's just all nonsense, and Cal is making up something weird. Whatever. It's all good.
So, Werzium, like I'm just throwing out the idea of you organizing a neighborhood watch as something. What totally open to whatever you think you might be doing in the new city to try and help people build up their defenses.
Yeah, it sounds about right. He would arrive and see what already is going on, and he probably would lend a pretty good oomph to it, being a soulbound, that he puts his expertise and moniker on the effort. And
one thing that seems clear from the new city is like there's just not enough between the Free Guild and the Fire Slayers are dwarves who basically tattoo themselves with something called gold that they claim is the blood of one of their dead gods. So if you think of the Slayers in the Warhammer Fantasy setting, imagine that, but here we go.
Okay.
With not gold-colored tattoos, but like tattoos that are actual gold. Gold. The Fire Slayers are also one of the factions that is involved with trying to keep this stuff safe, but there's just, again, not enough people. Do you think you've allied yourself with one of them, or have you tried to work with other members of the Church of Sigmar? Or are you trying to do it on your own and just like trying to get to know some of the locals?
No, I think I'd probably plug in. I don't even know how long I'll be here because the smuggling's coming up, right? Do we not know about the smuggling yet?
As far as you know right now, where the start of the thing, that's a resolved issue.
Gotcha.
So right now there's a cold lead, so you could, like, one of the things you can do during your downtime is you're able to do endeavors, and one of those is, for instance, to create contacts that you can then rely on. Others are things like, where is it here? There's a short list in the core book, and then the Champions of Order book expands it pretty significantly. And I thought there was... Oh, that's cultivating... Ooh. Oh, foretell is one of the endeavors. When you undertake this endeavor, choose up to 3 rumors or fears. Your GM tells you how these rumors or fears might manifest as threats.
Oh.
So, let's see here. I thought there was one about uncovering... That's one way of uncovering information. Run a business is actually one of the downtime endeavors.
Oh, nice. Interesting.
Yeah. So you can earn some cash. So maybe you still own the business then.
Yeah, I mean, if they put it in the game and it's part of the rules, then we could try it out.
Seek foe is one of the endeavors. So it's you actually trying to track down one new, and so that could be if you're trying to search out more information on the smugglers. I'm not really too concerned about diving too deep into there. I just wanted to, if we have something in fiction that you think might be setting you up, we might take advantage of those rules to give shape to it. Mm-hmm. But Worsham, who do you think you are? Do you think you're allying or trying to work these watches? Is it something you just you heard about it in the pub and decided to take on something, or has it been something that's been weighing on you for a while, or was there a crime you heard about that prompted you to get involved here? Is it part of an investigation into potential cultists in these unreclaimed areas?
Yeah, maybe maybe there was a crime and I suspect witchery. And so that's my entree to maybe it's a twofer that I'm seeing if that's the case, because it might not be a witch, and but it also is my perhaps it provides an entree into something I can do for security. So I have to, if I, for example, if I have to contact there's a whatever they be called, the town guard,
free guild.
Free Guild. Maybe I'm in touch. The Free Guild does security. That's
Free Guild does security in here, but again, they're limited by numbers, and the Free Guild attention seems to be on the lower tier rather than the new city, especially for these reclaimed areas or yet to be reclaimed areas. So
maybe I am. Maybe I'm in touch with the Free Guild, kind of primarily regarding to try to figure out if it's a witch issue, but maybe I'm offering to help them in areas they're not as interested in, but whatever their relationship is with new city security, that I will lend a hand in that endeavor that they're less interested in.
By lend a hand, what do you mean by that? Passively following their instructions, or taking active steps to try and improve the free people's security there? Because one of those sounds like your short-term goal.
Yeah, I mean, I would want to. I'm interested in shoring it up, and I think they know more than I do. I just arrived, so I would ask them for, how do I point me in a direction
I think again, remember they don't have the people to go there, and they're like, the response likely would be if those people are going there, then it's the beat on their heads for what happens to them. If they're not cultists already, then whatever happens to them, they know they shouldn't be there.
I was just thinking of a contact, but okay. If they don't even have a contact,
so then those are two different things. If you're trying to cultivate a contact, that is something different than trying to do your short-term goal. Gotcha. You can do both. Typically, what you get to do is 2 endeavors during a downtime period. So one of those could be the contact, and the other one could be within the free guild. Another cult contact you might make is in the people who are living in these areas. If you're trying to track down a witch, finding a contact among the gangs of this district, that might be a resource you could draw on as well. There would be different things they would have to offer.
That probably sounds good. I'm flicking through the endeavors right now as we speak, but
yeah, because the way that the short-term goal reads is that it is a more proactive thing, and remember, you guys are able to actually take more, more direct involvement with changing the world, as it were, on the small scale or the big scale. And after dealing with stuff on the catastrophic scale with your uncle, perhaps just tracking down a neighborhood cultist might be just what the Physiker ordered. What about you, Cal? What are you doing with what will we find Cal doing with this downtime?
So I think he's doing 2 things. One of his endeavors then will be to run his business, and the second one will be to track down information on... Sorry, I don't know the name of the Shadow Elves.
Oh, let's give her a name. Or him a name. Is it a male or female?
Let's just go male.
Yeah, okay. Let's see...
Well, what's their name of the elves, the whole group? The Darker?
The elves of Ulgu, they all have different names.
Ulgu.
Yeah, one of the cool things about the setting is you can kind of introduce a lot of whatever you want from it, right? Yeah. So the Darkling Covens is one of the factions that is associated. So Elven... What about...
So he's trying...
Vizrin.
Vizrin.
As the
rival
sorcerer of shadow.
Elgu.
Okay.
So he's trying to research that, hopefully without having to speak to his family or his go back to his village. So
sure,
whatever source of sort of elven history or elven knowledge that would be here in the city.
So let me tell you a little bit about what
he's trying to...
what rumors sort of have come your way as of yet. And I think that there are different ways you could have potentially come across this. I will tell you from the outset, you both are familiar with Knight Incantor Vontus Tavaria, because she is one of the regular contacts that you have been dealing with when addressing the problem with the shadow smugglers.
So so when you say that Sigmar created our Soulbound, our Soul Bond, does that mean that the instructions to stop this are essentially coming directly from him?
No, you were bound, but you are expected to kind of take initiative on your own.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there is Knight Incantor Vontus Tavaria. You also have been introduced to, because you were benefiting Bright Spear in general, you have met with the Lord Arcanum, Salonia Gravewing. And let me give you here. Lord, I should just make these as handouts, but let's see here. Lord Arcanum, Salonia Gravewing. All right. Maybe let me just move that. Move the sucker down a bit. Go. All right. So, in perhaps when you were reporting in the status of that hunt for the witch, Werzium, I guess first off, did you share with Cal that the Witch of Darkfire Crag is in fact your uncle?
Yeah, I think I probably did. Gotta tell somebody.
Yeah, true. And I guess Cal's the one you were most directly connected to. Did you tell Cal about your sister?
I think he knows the whole thing. I think I'm like, I was sort of laid flat by the whole thing, and there's probably a lot of drinking involved or something like that, and you gotta tell somebody. Like eventually, you gotta let it out. You gotta
right.
And when you reported to Night and Cancer,
and Cal's kind of outside it too. Cal's not wrapped up in it, so it's a good.
Yeah,
he's your buddy in the trench. He's not friends of your parents or whatever all that is. He's outside of that.
I think there's probably someone associated with the witch hunters in Brightspear as well. So who do you think? I guess first off, what do you think your relationship is like with the witch hunters?
I mean, I would think that I think it's probably positive. I think, as far as so I come from a family, like a decent, like a pretty solid situation there from their standpoint.
Yeah.
And I think this prophecy is public. I don't know that I'm not saying everyone knows about it, but it's a thing. My mom thinks it's a thing, and it's probably a thing. Yeah. And that I chose this, they're like, oh, I mean, the fact that I joined them, whether they knew about it ahead of time or not, they know about it now. And so, I think they've got expectations, not unreasonably, and I think we get along. I think it's
you and the witch hunters.
Yeah, I think So
what about your contact in Brightspear? How do you get along with them typically? Do you find that you align with their? Because I'm picturing that the witch hunters would run the full gamut of potential, dogmatic fanatics to practical minded. Think of what the Inquisitors are like in 40K, right? There's the full gamut from the ones who know the practicalities of the world and the greater good, and then there's those who are just see witches and whatnot everywhere.
I mean, he's probably more focused than I am because Werzium's got a focus issue in general.
Yeah.
He's gotten better. Werzium's finding his way. I think he's finding his footing after hitting a low point. But
the witch hunter who is in Brightspear, who sort of the most ranking member of them here, human, elf, or Dwarden?
Do you have any thoughts, Cal, on what would be more interesting, or what would fit, or anything? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, it would be interesting to introduce a dwarf to the whole scenario. So far, we've got humans and elves. I don't know.
All right.
I always like to mix it up. Plus, Kev likes to do accents.
Yeah.
Someone referred to it as I can't remember. It was a portmanteau of Canadian and Scottish. They're like the Scot-Canadian accent.
Yeah.
Scot-Canadian.
They're not wrong. Well, I do enjoy doing that accent.
Yeah, dwarf.
Okay, Dwarden, not dwarf. Dwarden. So then, what about? Ooh, how about Rygorn Grimm? Is a Dwarden. Oh, you know what? I might even have. He's got the wrong stuff, wrong accoutrements on. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I may even have. Let's see. Where is he? Are you picturing this Dwarden being younger or older?
I think.
No one's as old as you, are they?
The usual Cal. I mean, given that, I feel like the city of Brightspear is pretty prominent, right? It's a major situation, right? It's a city.
Definitely, especially with this is a realm gate unlike any other.
So, I mean, it lends itself a little bit more to age. It's not necessary, but it seems like it would fit better with someone of some prominence rather than an upstart.
So let's give him a inner witch hunter Rygorn Grim. There we go. Oh, Rygorn Grim. If you're pronouncing it in the Scandinavian accent.
Right. It's very prominent in Brightspear.
Very much so. More so than what you might expect. So let me ask you this. You're going to have to report what the outcome of your expedition was to Knight Incantor Vontus, because she is your contact with the Lord Arcanum. What are you going to tell her? I'm going to be interested in hearing what you're going to say, but I'm particularly interested in what you tell the witch hunter about this. Specifically, your sister's involvement. As you guys were making your way back to Brightspear, and travel to and from Brightspear across the Great Parch, there are some large. So there's one of the factions of dwarves are called the Caradron Overlords, and they are so called because they have mastered airship technology. And this is what the overlords. I think I might be over. Yeah, that's the kind of thing. So, when you were returning from wherever you were dealing with this, do you think it was elsewhere in the Great Parch? Do you think you'd gone to a different realm? Do you think that? Yeah, I mean, because if you're traveling back across somewhere in the Great Parch, you may be traveling over land, but it can be quite dangerous. It's fairly common to hire onto an airship and to travel between the cities of Sigmar using that. And let me give you your map. Go ahead, Jeff.
Is Witch Hunter Grim like your boss, Warzone?
Is that the structure, Kevin? Would you
probably? I think because you're still a witch hunter, so you probably have to. Not only do you have to report to him, but you also probably can take advantage of, some of him as a contact as well. Mm-hmm. So this is the kind of immediate region of around Brightspear. So maybe it's the last thing. It was in these Aglaraxian citadels. There was some forgotten. Remember, underneath Brightspear is that citadel. Maybe it's one other kind of massive, sprawling underground thing is where you found this witch and his most recent coven. And it was at the final encounter with that is where you discovered that he was your uncle, and that your sister was involved, and then she fucking whammied you. So maybe you're traveling back from here.
Okay.
Do you think there's got to be communities all along here too? You could travel by boat, you could travel over land, or you could travel by air. The reason I'm interested is because that's probably when you would have the conversation among you two to get your stories straight. Right? As to what you're going to tell everybody when you get back.
If he's your boss, does that mean you have to tell him the truth?
Which you've hired on. There is a whole underwater elven civilization, too, who are called the, I think, Ishlon? Or Ishon? Let me double check. They are...
Question may not be whether to tell him the truth, but whether I have to tell him the whole truth.
Ishon. Here we go.
Well, how are we going to tell him that we failed?
Well, I think that's, in a sense, the easy part, since we did. I think it's more along the lines of how did it happen.
Right, why did we fail?
Yeah, I mean, I was probably going to... it's inevitable that in the witch hunter industry, if you will, that that's going to stick. You don't want to, if you don't want to imply that someone's involved, you're going to have to be careful about that. And so I think I would want to tell him that, that I just failed. I mean, that he got away from me. I thought I was going to have him in my sights. He was more clever than I thought. Here's the thing. Here's where Werzium puts it to you, Cal. He's like, so I'm decided that I don't want to tell him about my sister. What I'm not decided about is whether I want to tell him the witch is my uncle. I think I probably tell him that. I'm not sure about this, Cal. What do you think? I don't want to tell him about my sister because I don't know what my sister's involvement is yet. And once you involve your sister's name in a witch hunter investigation, you may never. It's just hard to get her out again, depending on what the actual situation is. Now, I'm not as defensive about the uncle. It's a big deal, but I'm not as defensive because I know his involvement. He's a witch, so I've got that down. Yeah, so I've got that part. So I'm less, I think I got to tell my boss something. I mean, I can't completely punt the thing. So I think you tell him the bad news, which is my uncle's a witch. That's pretty bad in of itself. That's a pretty good smokescreen, given that it's pretty bad. Like, I wouldn't be making that up. That is not something you just invent for your boss unless it's true. So that's a pretty good that's a pretty good juicy morsel to give him to leave out the fact that your sister was there. That's his thinking, but he's open to your thinking.
Werzium, would you give us a... Thought we'd go a whole session without rolling dice, but why don't you give us a lore check, please? And this is one of those witch areas where you can double your training. I can't remember. Are you trained in lore?
No.
Then unfortunately that'll be easy math.
Okay.
Hold on. Would you click on your talent, the witch foe or something like that?
Bane of the Witch?
Yes. What is? Can you click on that one? Oh, double your trick. Yeah, I thought that's what it was. Okay. So go ahead and give us a lore check. Difficulty on this will be I think a 4. Yeah. Oof.
Is there a way to get more than one success on a single die?
On a single die, no.
So I rolled 3 dice. That's what I rolled.
That's that's bad luck on it. So you could you could spend Soulfire to reroll. That's a big expenditure. Cal, why don't you give us a lore check at 4 as well?
Okay.
There's no penalty for untrained skills, by the by, in this game. Although I'll tell you, if something says it's got advantage or disadvantage, it just means the difficulty goes up by 1 or down by 1.
So what's my target, DN?
DN is a 4 as well.
DN is 4. Okay, sorry. Or bonus 0. No, I'm not very good at that.
No, mine is not your... But even then, you should have a greater than 50% chance to succeed. And Werzium at a much bigger one. So let me ask you this, Werzium. This uncle that you did not know about until now. Do you think there is a impact that revealing him as a witch might have on anyone else?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's a huge deal. I mean, it's a family. It'd be a family. I assume it'd be a family. What's that word?
Disgrace.
Yeah, disgrace. Shame. Or I can't.
Scandal.
Yeah, scandal. That's exactly the word. It's a family scandal. I don't think, you can't hide everything, though. I mean, if the sister wasn't involved, maybe we could have a little conversation, but I even doubt that. I mean, but if you want to hide the sister, you can't hide everything. You can't just, I mean, you can only go so far. And I think the fact that I'm certain it was him, I'm certain he's a witch, and those are true, right, Kevin? I'm certain
100%.
Yeah, so,
Well, and there's a potential that Witch Hunter Grimm may know something, and sharing what you truthfully know might lead you to the truth.
Meaning the sister too? Or...
No.
Okay. Gotcha.
Just that it's your uncle. He may know something about your uncle or the history of this witch that having that information might help you get to the truth behind the matter.
Yeah, and I mean, and I don't like at all the fact that I'm not being completely telling him all the truth. That's not like that's a great thing at all, but I feel like it'd just be going too far to try to cover up kind of the whole thing. It's just a bridge too far. That I think I gotta tell him the overall bad news, and that is that the uncle's a witch, and I really could use where my family's a long way away, Kevin. Is that right?
On a different, they would be in Azir, a different realm.
A different realm. Oh wow, yeah, they're really far away.
So you'd have to take you'd have to take a gate, right, Kevin? The city has gates.
Yeah, you'd have to take a realm gate to travel to Azir, and then like this is a tiny bit of the Great Parch. The Great Parch is one part of Akshi, and then there are others. Like the setting thus far has given us I want to say 4 different maps of different parts of different realms, but they're also. The deeper you travel into the realm, the more abstract and the more supernatural these places can be. So I'm just checking to see to give you a context of cost. I think that there's a travel cost for traveling realms, so you can get a sense of how expensive and how common that could be. That's food and lodging, services. There we go. Animals, mounts, and vehicles. Corruption equipment. Hold up. Services. Travel in the mortal realms is incredibly dangerous. The roads, airways, and seas of the mortal realms are so deadly that captains expect their passengers to defend themselves in an attack. Let's see here. And they may be charged 2 or 3 times their standard rate if they cannot defend themselves. I don't have a rate for traveling through realm gates. But it seems like it's not common per se, but it's not like it's not, but there are caravans that travel between different realms through realm gates. It's one of the reasons why the realm gates are here 162
are so they favored. Like always open? Like is it a road that's always open?
Depends
or?
On the realm gate. For typically they require a key to open, and in the case of Brightsphere, because it's got the one that can shift depending on where things are oriented, and it can access all the realms. The that one would definitely only open once you've set it to the proper place. Let's see here. So the realms are of such near infinite scope that a traveler might spend 10 lifetimes journeying from the center of one to its farthest edge. But within each realm are innumerable dimensional pathways known as realm gates. These realm gates form an uneven arterial network extending both within the borders of a given realm as well as far beyond. They may connect points separated by oceans and even by the etheric void itself. The most ancient of these pathways existed well before the first human cities, and with even the most recently discovered appearing to be ancient. Each realm gate is unique. Some resemble nothing more than shimmering wounds in the fabric of reality, while others are immense portcullises of mystic iron or rune-etched stone. A few are humble things, hidden from the eyes of all but those who already know of their existence. If there is a pattern to the realm gate's locations, it's unknown even to the gods. Even their exact number is a mystery. In the age of myth, sages and adventurers by the score sought to map them, but few achieved any success and more fell to madness. What maps do exist are all but unreadable and almost completely unreliable. Nonetheless, these maps are highly prized by those who seek to use the realm gates to their own end. Of the known realm gates, many have been twisted by Chaos's corrupting influence, torn away from their original points to be bent towards some part of the realm of Chaos. Others have been sealed for unknown reasons by the enigmatic Slan, or even destroyed in their entirety. Those that remain are often fiercely contested, as during the Realm Gate Wars, when Sigmar's armies sought to lay claim to those pathways that would best aid his attempts to throw back Chaos and retake the mortal realms. So that is.
So this is a very special realm gate here.
Extremely, yeah.
Yeah, like okay, yeah.
And the Azir as well, like the Realm of Heavens, is also known as Peerless Kingdom, or the Fortress of the Lost by humans, the Bastion by the Dwarden, the Heart Realm or Star Throne by the Elves. It is the pinnacle of realms, in a realm where snowy mountains' peaks scrape the firmament and shimmering auroras dance eternally on the horizon. That is Wurzium's home plane, it sounds like. Potentially where you're from as well, too, Cal, as part of the Shining Companies. There are also places like there are places where the realms interact, so like one will have a great influence on another. Anvil Guard, for instance, is close to Garan, so there's huge jungles that keep trying to overgrow where the city is, and they have to use defoliants to keep it back because of the influence of that. So that's a long way of saying if you have money and you've got influence, you can access the realm gates and travel back and forth quite freely. And there is trade between the mortal realms as well. And there are other paths. The Caradhran overlords are said to know ways to navigate through the airs and the various realm gates that offer access from high in the air or atop the tallest peaks. They keep them secret, obviously. But I can't remember why you were asking about the realm gates when we got sidetracked. But
because it sort of begs. I didn't have a completely firm idea of the geography of the whole situation, and it begs for a family sit down, and I just didn't know what that looked like.
Oh yeah, I got it. Okay, so yeah, you could potentially put in a request for that, but it would be a big deal going to there, and it would be a matter of leaving your responsibilities here for a time.
Gotcha.
But do you think it's important enough for them?
I mean, this is part of when Cal was. This is part of when Wurzium was, probably telling you, Cal. I mean, part of maybe not the very first night, but the second or third time he got drunk, he's probably like, like, I gotta go, right? I don't know. What do you think, Hal? Should I go? I mean, how can I tell all this in a letter? Should I go? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I would not have a problem making the journey. Are you spry enough to make it?
I can make it. It's just a matter of... It is a long way. I mean, should I just get on with it? Should I just...
Is there a chance that your uncle would be heading there?
You guys have been also running from task to task to task since the binding. So you can also probably expect that there may be some new task waiting for you when you get back as well. Not to say that you shouldn't do this, but it's something to weigh.
I mean, as long as I'm going to be telling my boss the bad news, I mean, I could also ask him. I mean, I realize he's going to have his own agenda, which is natural for a boss. But, you know, if you're letting him, I mean, I'll be telling him the bad news, and I'll be saying, you know, and I'll just put it to him. And, you know, I mean, he's going to have his opinion, and that's what it is. But I could try to confide in him in a sense. I mean, make the report, obviously, also, it's a personal situation intrinsically, and say it's just horrendous. And you know, what do you think? I mean, can I possibly, you know, what do you think, Witch Hunter Grimm? Can I possibly relay this disastrous information in a letter? Like, what would you do? Like, you know, it's not crazy. I'm not saying he'll give me the answer I want, but it's not a crazy, given the nature of it, it's not crazy.
Well, it sounds like you've got a good enough relationship with him to trust him to give advice on that one way or the other, right?
Yeah. And I would kind of need his, you know, I don't know, you know, to some extent blessing, or, I mean, I have to figure out how hard to press it if I want to go. That's up to me how hard to press it. But you know, it would certainly be easier if I have some, even if he's hesitant or doesn't like it, at least if he goes, oh hell, go ahead, but don't dawdle, like, you know, get your ass back here. Maybe he says something like that, you know, who knows? But if I think, what do you think, Cal? I mean, you know,
sounds like you would need permission to go.
Yeah, at least some level of it, even if he doesn't like it. That's where I was going with it. That even if he doesn't love it, he'll stomach it until I get back, you know. But given the nature of the disaster, familial disaster it involves, to some extent. Yeah, I think that's probably right. Don't you think, Cal?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right. Okay, very well. Okay. And I pass out.
Yeah, I bet you guys took you hired on with a Caradron Air. You made your way out of the Citadels, found a place near in Asperia where the warships or airships stand off. You brought up in one of those and fly your way back to Bright Spirit itself. Yeah. When you arrive back in Bright Spear, is your first port of call once you're, you know, disembarking from there, is it to the Silver Phoenix to unload your supplies and whatnot, get changed in something more appropriate? Is it directly to the Witch Hunter? Is it directly to the Knight Incanter? The Witch Hunter's relationship would be as your role as a witch hunter, but Cal is not that, and you were also acting as an agent of the God King himself now, which is where the Knight Incanter, and for the benefit of Sigmar's city, the city of Brightspear, which is why you've got a contact through to the Lord Arcanum.
I mean, I think it would depend on what time of day we arrive.
That's true. It's a factor. Sure. Yeah, when would we get there, Kevin? Closer to 9 a.m. or 10 p.m. in a sense. So
one thing I for canon aficionados, I can't remember if there is the normal day-night cycle in actually. So I'm going to say there is, because I can't remember offhand.
Right.
I think there is, because this is closer. What you see in the sky is actually some of the other mortal realms manifested as celestial bodies and such. So I think it probably is. I don't know this for certain, but I imagine it's when Ulgu makes their way across the sky that's when it's dark, right? Because the mortal realm of shadow is in the sky. So what do you guys want? Daytime, nighttime?
I mean, I think I'd prefer going to the Phoenix first. the Silver Phoenix and kind of get our feet under us and take a, clean up, change of clothes,
get presentable.
Yeah,
we are delivering bad news.
Yeah. I mean, I'm living bad news. That's what's really happening. I just got to tell my boss about it. That's
right. That's fair.
So you guys arrive there at the I think it's the Skyport.
Yeah, we've been traveling. At the very least, we need to splash some water on our face.
Yeah. The way you get around the different tiers, too, there are gyrocopters, incidentally, built by the...
wow. To go from lower tier to upper tier?
Yeah. Because I think the upper tier is where the ports are, if I recall.
Okay.
But
in the new city, what level is that on exactly?
New city's on the ground as well, the surface. The only thing is the new city is what is outside of that shadow cast by the upper tier.
So it's on the same level as the lower tier?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Which is where yours borders on that.
Yeah.
No, Highport's in lower tier, actually. That's where they would land.
What's on lower tier? Oh, the airport?
Effectively. The gyroports. Gyroports are for the wealthy citizens. You guys, I think, have, like, at best, 100 drops to your name. So, they say you don't go into witch hunting for the money. And they are correct.
No wonder that all the witch hunter reports always say that the targets never had any money on them because...
Exactly. Got to finance yourself there. Taller than any structure beside the tier of heaven itself, the Highport offers moorings to airships docking in Brightspear. It's a sheer-faced tower ringed with spiraling staircases, staffed by a labor clan of Dwarden porters who don't believe in railings. Many turn up their noses at the Teamsters' prices, but reconsider after attempting to navigate the steps themselves with heavy luggage. The Caradron overlords were instrumental in the construction of the Highport, providing the design, much of the material and labor, and rather crucially, handling the contracts. For this reason, the topmost landings are reserved for Caradron vessels for no less than the next 9,000 years, meaning their oversized dirigibles will cast a familiar silhouette over Brightspear for a long time to come. The most recent arrival, the Arcanaut Ironclad, the Grund, has traveled from Hammerhall, Aksha, and its shrewd captain, Broca Brokasdaughter, is keen to take on more crew and open a regular route between the two cities of Sigmar. If you think of a flying battleship, that's basically what the Arcanaut Ironclad is. Yeah, they are... pretty badass. So it means that you were landing on the lower tier and able to make your way back to the Silver Phoenix. Tell us about what it's like when you guys walk into the Silver Phoenix. Is it like, do you guys have just a room along with other ones that are let out to other people, or do you have a separate quarters where just you guys live? What's the crowd
I was imagining it as like a separate quarters.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe you turn the... is it possible you had like an attic for storage, and you turn that into quarters when you sold it to be that you now that was your remaining space, and you lived in there, and then I'll live in there too, or whatever. I'll stay in the...
And that's if you want an idea of what the...
Yeah, I like that. Like sort of an attic space that was storage, but now we've sort of turned it into our de facto residence and headquarters. Yeah.
Tell me about your favorite employee at the...
And you tried to get them to bring a tap all the way up into the attic. It's like a fresh tap, but they turned you down. Like, it's one of those... Try to get that last... negotiation.
This is an idea of what some of the architecture in the lower tier might be, where it's got that Aglaraxian kind of vibe to it. This is a little bit more of the developed things. Remember, the lower tier is, or the lower city is like the it's still that older architecture than what has been thrown up in the new city.
I think there is a young elf that I would have hired, given a chance, here in the city. They're young, so I'm giving them an opportunity, and that would probably be the person that...
And are they like a bar manager? Are they...
Yeah, I'm assuming there's not very many employees. If I was sort of running it myself, maybe it's like a 2-person sort of operation.
Did you sell it? I don't remember.
I think we decided that it wasn't.
Yeah, we said at first that we were going to sell it, then we realized there was a downtime or an endeavor for running a business. Cool. We're like, oh, fuck it. That'll give you...
Yeah, so I still technically own it.
So this young buck is your primary manager? Like the person
the person who runs it when I'm not there.
How about Elderel as a name?
Elderel, yeah.
Okay. So when you come in, I imagine that you sort of typically expect Elderel to be here or in the back, and you would recognize whoever is at the bar, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you try to employ mostly elves, or do you employ...
Not as a general rule. This was just a special case of, taking someone under my wing, so to speak.
So perhaps you walk in and one of the bartenders, who is a human, dark-skinned human with a little bit of like strange metallic tattoos suggesting they may originate from Shaman originally. And originally, once again, fucking stellar narration for you guys. They come in, and would you give us an awareness check, Cal? I know I'm just wrapping this up. I want to leave on a kind of a prompt to adventure here, if possible.
There it is. Awareness. Here we go.
Difficulty here will be a 3, because I think you know these people.
Yeah. Oh.
Apparently not terribly well. I spent Soul Fire.
So you rolled 2 dice, is that right, Cal?
Yeah.
You can give us actually you've lived here for at least since the binding, or since you came to Brightspear. Why don't you give us a awareness check as well?
And just so I'm aware, could Cal have succeeded only rolling 2 dice with a D and a 3?
Yeah. So the difficulty number is what number you need to roll on the dice.
Oh, I see.
Right. I just rolled all my dice under 3.
I see.
Yeah.
And then you only needed 1 success?
You only needed 1 success.
I see.
Same thing for those lore checks, by the way.
Yeah, we just suck, okay?
Gotcha.
It's not that the...
Hey, Worsley was going through tough times. It's hard to focus.
We are going through some tough times.
There you go.
So, Werzium, when you... 2 of you walk in here at evening. I imagine it's starting to fill up with your usual crowd or whatnot. You guys are walking through. Your armor is definitely drawing some attention on both parts. And Werzium, when you get closer to the bar, you can see that this human behind the bar, whose name Zykel. They look at you, and you can see as soon as he sees a Cal, he moves over to one of the waitresses and kind of immediately whispers something, seemingly in an urgent way. It seems like they're really upset to see Cal. Not like angry necessarily, but just like surprised and seemingly saddened. They're urgent about something here.
But I don't notice.
You don't notice because you're just like maybe looking over at the crowd.
Yeah, saying hi to some of the regulars.
Yeah.
I say to Cal, did you leave them enough to pay payroll? They seem a little beside themselves. Or is it my imagination?
If you look up Cal, you make eye contact with Zykel, and Zykel's got like a coppery quality to his irises, but his eyes are huge when he meets yours, and there's a sadness to them.
Oh no.
Like he's got a look on his face like I does not know how quite to...
Oh, that's troubling. I will go over there, of course.
Okay. So
I'll sort of hail to him, yeah.
And he says, "What do you think they call you, boss or Cal or?"
I probably don't let them call me boss. Probably I make them call me Cal.
Okay. Cal, we didn't hear that you would be returning. Where's you? What do they call you?
Let's see. I wonder if they I wonder if they call me something casual. Don't really like the witch guy or something. I think they probably call me because I think I like more casual because of my whole the prophecy drives me crazy thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they call me
or
for Warzium. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a short version?
Yeah, I think Wurs. You call me Wurs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he looks sorry, the Cal Wurs. I didn't. We didn't know that you were going to be back. And you can see Warzium like this. He's both. There's that sense of like you need to tell someone something, but you so don't want to do it. You got a really good read on this kid, and he seems like he might break down at the bar in the middle of in front of everybody if he's going to do it here.
Oh.
So Cal, you're still trying to get a judge. It's Warzium who's got the much better read on what the hell's going on.
Why don't you, Cal? Why don't we get a couple of pints, maybe 3, and you go up to your office, go with your manager and have a chat.
Well, this isn't the manager. This is the
Alderel is the.
With your bartender and have a chat.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So if you lead him upstairs, you find the room left pretty much the way you left it, although it's probably tidied up a little bit in your absence. Do you guys have different rooms, or you share one kind of area with different?
Yeah, I think it's just like one giant room.
Okay. So he comes in and he has difficulty kind of. He's not the one who's going to start the conversation. He seems to be avoiding your eyes.
Yeah. I think eventually I'll just, spit it out, man.
It's Alderel, Cal.
What, he quit?
You haven't been around a lot, so you may not have known Alderel. There's a waitress we brought on who he was sweet on. And she was living out in somewhere in the new city. And it seems like she was having some trouble. And Alderel got it in his head to help her with that. And neither he nor she has been back in almost 3 weeks.
Do you know which neighborhood?
And he'll give you a description. It's one of these like restored neighborhoods. It's the kind of place where if you can't afford to live anywhere else or whatever, you'll find a squat there. Even the places on the edge of it, where there is a restored place or construction is being offered. It's not a place you would. It's not like It's not one of the places where like if you go there, you're going to get probably murdered by something. But it's not a place anyone would choose to live.
Right.
And I think you probably is Alderel the type to like those sad luck types.
Yeah, I mean maybe he's been in a somewhat similar situation before.
Yeah. So that's what he said. He says we've gone to the Free Guild. We tried spreading your name among the Fire Slayers, but they haven't done anything.
Well, we will do something.
And Warzian, where are you during this conversation? Would you have come up as well, or do you think you're...
My intent was to let him deal with it unless he asked me to, and so I stayed at the bar unless I was requested.
Sure. So one of the waitresses brings you a drink.
Yeah.
How do you guys want to end the session? Like, do you send the person down? Do you want to have a chat with Warzian?
I think it's like a case of, like, he says to the Psychel, like, well, I guess I'm not taking this off. And he heads back down in his armor and comes to the bar, and he's like, well, we've got a more pressing matter than reporting.
All right. What seems to be the...
Elderell's gone missing. He's been gone for 3 weeks already. I'll relay the neighborhood name where he was last seen.
At Warzian, you would know well enough how, it's not a place that's like routinely, besieged by either creatures crawling up from the Undercity or ghosts, but it's certainly not a safe place.
And of course, no one's done anything.
Well, now or the morning, Cal. What do you think?
Right this minute.
All right. Very good.
Zykel will step forward and say, like, we'll take these things upstairs, whatever your travel gear is and whatnot.
Thank you.
You have something called an iron torch, Warzian, which is a light source so you can kind of magically spark it up. Picture like a flashlight, but instead of creating like magical light, it's a flame that can be activated and deactivated at will.
All right, let's.
And
we'll head out. We'll finish our pints and head out.
Yeah.
Then
you say that and I just drop mine back. I'm done.
So once again, I've got a thumbnail that is completely inappropriate for what we actually did in the session. Then, but that brings us to the end of the of our first session playing Soulbound tonight. Any closing thoughts? We're well over time right now, so I don't want to belabor things or make this too late. But do you guys have any thoughts on the Care-Gen? I mean, you effectively were shoehorned into pre-gen, archetypes. You weren't able to spend the skill points or the other things, but all the rest of the Care-Gen we actually did according to the books.
Yeah, that was cool. I have not spent gone through that much of a process for the backstory in quite some time. So it's cool. It was something I haven't done in a while. So that's fun. And we learned the setting. We used it to learn the setting a little bit too.
Yeah, that's true. It makes me want to definitely play a campaign with these characters. They feel very fleshed out and like there's a lot to explore. Yeah.
And that's the thing I found with last weekend's game too, is like when we finished up going through all the stuff, like it really feels like it sets you up in a good place to have a sense of not just like what your characters can do mechanically or whatnot, but like what drives them, what are their interests, and what are the things they're going to prompt themselves to do. It's less of like setting the path ahead of you. And it's an interesting contrast to some of the other games we've played where I feel like there, and this is campaign design on my part as well, but where it's more of a like, here's an opportunity for you guys to do, you guys go do it. This feels really character driven right from the get-go, just from the way you guys have set up some of these things here.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting way of having ownership over the setting and the game. And you guys did, obviously, you're incredible role players and did an amazing job of fleshing out a much, much more interesting story and connection between these characters than what I could have thought of.
Yeah, well, it was It was good. It's kind of is it easier with 2? I mean, obviously you got a lot more focus on each person with 2. If we had 5, for example, you have to, you'd parcel it out a lot more. You'd have to. So yeah, you get a really in depth, especially with I hadn't focused on it until this very second, but with only 2 players, you get a lot of time. There's a lot of time to focus on those 2.
What it would probably be, there would be some overlap because of the ways we were discussing about how the backstory brought you guys together. I mean, with 4 players, I bet you it would be the entire session. Like the entire 4 hours would be getting everything together for it. But it's a really, I think it's very, very cool doing all that stuff with the players all together as well, rather than trying to, create each character in a vacuum and then bring everybody together.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of this kind of character creation where you end up with a really cohesive party and meaningful backstory
and meaningful connections.
That isn't just I decided my character is a lone wolf and he's got this whole family drama and you guys all have to play it out now. Where we're like more tied together with the whole thing. I do like that.
And with the way that the like rumor, fear, threat mechanic works and doom and whatnot, like it really feels like you can. And the way the endeavors can shape what you're doing, like what you're going to do in the next adventure and how you're prepping for the next adventure or setting up the next adventure. That stuff seems like it's like narrative sandboxing almost, where you're going to be able to be going kind of where you want and doing what you want while trying to manage, other commitments and whatnot that you guys have established. Either that's being established by the adventure you're going to play or the campaign or whatnot. It's exactly the kind of thing I've been more and more interested in with this game in general as a potential for campaign, because who'd have thought that like I took the rumors from like one adventure and from 2 of the other mega adventures. I was like, all right, well, I'll sprinkle this in the course of our role playing. I have no need to do that now because we have plenty of fucking cool things that just came from what we talked about over the course of creating the soul binding and setting the characters in motion. Very, very cool. There's it's really, really cool the way the game reinforces the sort of not reinforces but incentivizes action on the part of the players as opposed to like reactive stuff. So very, very cool stuff. All right, well then, we're well over time, so let me quickly breeze through the outro. So for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for this character creation, character exploration, character filling out session with Soulbound. As is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, the game, or the characters we created, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. There's also a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server, where we have a channel dedicated to Warhammer role-playing games, so Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40k games, or Warhammer Fantasy games. There's also a link to, there's also channels over there dedicated to most other campaigns we run on the channel, as well as a bunch of other things like finding a group or GM discussion. We've started participating in the RPG a day exercise on the GM discussion channel, so if you want to join in with that, you're more than welcome to do so if you're listening to this around the time of August 2024. There's also a link down below to our friends at Noble Knight Games. Noble Knight Games is the preeminent unionized retailer of hard-to-find and out-of-print RPGs in North America. Not only do they have an amazing selection of new role-playing games, board games, and card games, they have an unmatched selection of hard-to-find and out-of-print RPGs. If they do not have something in stock that is listed in their extensive catalog, you can put it on a want list and they'll send you an email when it comes in. And if you make a purchase of $10 or more through their website, be sure to enter the code MuserMashup, all caps, all one word. It's listed in the description of the video, and you'll save yourself 10% on your purchase. If you're listening to this after September 30th, 2024, come back to one of our more recent videos and you will find what the current discount code is there. There is also a link down below to something called Heroes Save Villages, which is the charity fundraiser fundraising campaign we run on the channel. It benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, a really incredible organization active in over 130 countries, benefiting over 80,000 orphaned and abandoned children, including ongoing relief efforts in a bunch of current locations. You can learn all about that by following that link. And any donations through that link go directly to them. None of it goes to the channel or any other middleman. It just goes to benefit the kids who benefit from their services. There is also a small way of saying thank you, and that is that we have voting going on right now for our Muser mashup sessions. For the next 5 months till the end of the year, we'll be running a bunch of sessions featuring mashups of classic RPG adventures with games that they are not designed to be run with. We have currently voting going on for the Expedition to the Barrier Peaks game. We are at module, and we have 4 games that are options. So if you donated $25 or more sent to the Hero Save Villages campaign since January 1st, 2024, head on over to the Charity Initiatives channel on the Dungeon Musings Discord server and go ahead and cast your vote for which of the 4 games you'd like to see us play that session with, using that module as inspiration. We'll have 4 more after that you'll be able to vote on, so we hope that is a way to let you accept our thanks for your generosity to support the Hero Save Villages campaign. The last thing I will say is an enormous thank you to our stalwart players for tonight. I love doing these character gen style sessions, talking about the backstories of the characters, and you guys have made this even better than I could have hoped. So Jeff and Sean, thank you very, very much for an entertaining and enjoyable session. We will be back in 2 weeks' time, either, well, probably in the Coronis Expanse or the Mortal Realms, or perhaps somewhere else. The summer is the time for sketchy, for unpredictable calendars. But until then, we hope that we gave you a few hours to take your mind off the troubles of our world and think of the troubles that our heroes in the mortal realms are facing. And until we see you again, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.